for the end zone. What a catch! McKay, touchdown!
Into the layup, goes at the buzzer.
Volusia wins it, the championship.
Weekend of Champions in Columbia, the highly anticipated Class 5A state championship game is next. A true emerging rivalry game on the state's largest stage. They've met often in recent years with high stakes. This time, it's for the state championship. Dutch Fork, Fort D, the latest renewal, as we welcome you in to Benedict College, as well as into the state championship weekend alongside my broadcast partners, the former Gamecock, former legendary coach here in the state, Eddie Muldrow. Midland's personality, Stacy Huff, is alongside as well. And gentlemen, this is the one you circle when the season starts. You get ready for it. And coach, all that hard work culminates in an afternoon like this.
It certainly does. The players have been working since last December to get ready for this opportunity. It's a great opportunity. They go through weight workouts, spring practice, summer passing leagues, 2-a-day, 3-a-day practices, scrimmages, early contests, region championships, playoffs. All of it comes down to today, and they are all ready to play.
Well, we're certainly ready for it. And, Stacy, it has been quite a journey to get to this point. As we look at the bracket, take a glance at how these teams arrived here, talk about the journey for Dutch Fork right back here to what's been their usual spot of late.
Well, it's been a tremendously formidable path, as you can see right there on your screen, culminating in a revenge game, if you will, defeating Gaffney at the reservation in a revenge game. Gaffney, as we all know, stopped that long streak of championships for Dutch Fork, and here they are.
Earned their trip here going through those upper state powers to work their way back to the state championship environment. You flip over and we take a look at the Farm Bureau path to the championship for Fort D. What do you highlight, Coach?
Well, Fort Dorchester, and it looked like they and Sumter were the top two teams seeded going into the playoffs. They didn't get to match up with Sumter, but they actually ended up beating Summerville, one of their nearby rivals, to get to this championship game.
When you look at players in this one, and boy, do they abound on both sides. Stacy, no one has found the solution to try and slow down Jarvis Green.
The numbers are almost pinball machine-like, And Jarvis Green, a candidate for Mr. Football in the state. You see the numbers, over 2,000 yards, almost 10 yards per carry, and 30 TDs. And he didn't play the second half in a lot of games this year because of the score. So Jarvis Green, number 4, a young man to watch.
Both these teams run the football extremely well, so why not stay with the ground game? For Fort D, we highlight Brown, Coach.
Devian Brown is an outstanding running back for Fort Dorchester as well. He's rushed for close to 1,500 yards. And they have a second back who's done extremely well for them, too. So they'll have a 1-2 punch. Both of them have rushed for over 1,000 yards. Very unusual to have 2 great backs on one team.
And we'll need all hands on deck here today against one of the premier powers in the state, no doubt about it. You look at the keys to today's game. We call them our Ingles food for thought from our friends at Ingles. Low prices, love the savings. Let's stick with Fort D, Coach. What do you see as the keys?
Fort Dorchester has a large offensive line, and they feel like they have to be physical up front. They feel like they have to run the ball to be successful and try to keep the ball away from Dutch Fort. And also, they also need to slow down Green and figure out a way to try to keep him off the field some.
For Dutch Fort, what does it come down to in your mind, Stacy?
Share the money. We know about Green. They run it exceptionally well, but they will throw it enough to keep you honest for the Fort D defense. And, of course, follow the plan. Seems to be working thus far, especially over the last decade.
Boy, the meetings have been so memorable between these two. Today they collide in the 5A state title game. Pretty pumped about what comes next. We will have the kickoff on the other side of the break between the Foxes and the Patriots.
High school sports fans, relive your favorite moments. Just click the shopping cart below the video player to get your digital copy today.
They're not just punch. Hold them.
This is mine. I take it sideways,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Okay. Red means you're not over air.
Okay.
Yep. Out of the Charleston area, Fort D taking the field. These two combatants ready for what should be an engaging 5A title game. For a little more on this battle, on this matchup, let's check in with Natalie.
Yeah, hey guys, you're not going to find two coaches across the state that set the bar higher than Steve LaPratt and Tom Knotts. These are two coaches that don't make it their goal to make it to a state championship. It is an expectation, and it's a mentality their players have bought into year in and year out. Now, these are two programs that are 365 days a year. These guys are with each other each and every day. They know what it takes to compete in a state championship, and now it's time to take advantage, guys.
Perfect day for it as well. Thank you, Natalie. 71 degrees. It's supposed to get to 72 before we complete this contest today. There was a light drizzle just prior to the game, and I think we can say this. There was more than light communication prior to the game between these two teams. A little chippy in the pregame, but a lot of history between these two as we receive our Somerville Ford kickoff. in the Dutch Fork direction. Fox is going to have the ball first, but before we get there, a flag down on the opening kick. Well, let's talk about it, Coach. A little bit of nerves always in a game like this, and it starts with the pause button being hit right away.
It does. It certainly does, and it looks like maybe Fort Dorchester was offside on the kickoff. Probably somebody anxious just to get down and try to make a big hit early in the game. They'll have to re-kick 5 yards back.
Stacy, they have met 8 times, 7-1 all-time in Dutch Fork's favor. That one sticks in the craw of the Dutch Fork Foxes, though.
Yeah, I work here in the media in the Columbia area, and Coach Knotts has mentioned a few times that the Carrier Joiner team in 2017 that came to Dutch Fork and defeated them on their turf. And Coach Knotts, he's mentioned it a few times. He remembers that one loss out of the 8 games to Fort D.
Yeah, and then the 6 wins, 6 of them coming in playoff environments. And, of course, none bigger than this environment as now they collide for the 5A title. Let's try it again. A reset on our Somerville Ford kickoff, and the return up across the 35 to the 37-yard line for Green and Company. They will now take the field. That's where they'll begin. A reminder, all our kickoffs in this one coming via Somerville Ford. You'll pay too much if it's not Somerville Ford. And leading this group out, Liam Appler and, of course, Jarvis Green, the JMU commit who we've talked so much about, will be in the backfield throughout the day. He really is the mystery they have to solve, Coach.
Certainly is. Fort Dorchester felt like they had to slow him down somehow. They knew they couldn't completely shut him down, but they felt like they had to slow him down.
Eclipsed 2,000 yards on the season last week at the reservation in the revenge game. They avenged that loss to Gaffney in the state championship here a year ago by taking care of business on the road at the reservation last week. And there's a snap, Appler's direction. First touch, no surprise, goes to Green, and he's got plenty. He's got a first down and is still dragging him with him inside Fort D territory at the 44-yard line. There is our initial Will Lou Gray Opportunity School first down of the game, and it's time to look at the surrounding cast for Dutch Fork. Who else do you highlight offensively, Stacy?
But, of course, we talked about Appler, who's using his legs more and more, and they have a 6'4" wide receiver down at the slot as well. So they have some players. Also, 14 is quite a possession receiver as well. That's Jacob Hamilton, who leads them in receptions.
It's like he heard you, using his own legs. Appler calls his own number, goes with it across the right side this time. Those are our Popowski and Shirley Law's starting lineups. If you're injured, speak with one of their attorneys today. That's Popowski and Shirley on your side. We'll see the lineup defensively for Fort D in just a moment, but Dutch Fork going quickly. Green is off the left hip this time around, and they will end up sending Ross in motion before it's handed off to Green. Green has a seam, that offensive line. They make some room for him. He's out of bounds inside the 30 at the 29-yard line. The appropriately named Jarvis Green, wearing all that Dutch Fork green on this day.
And churns up a lot of green under his feet as well. A 300-yard game and several 200-yard performances. 2,000 yards is heady stuff, especially when you consider he's missed parts of games this year.
Yeah, second all-time career in rushing at Dutch Fork, 4,367 yards. Also leads the team with 33 receptions, so tuck that away in the back of your mind when it comes to the backs that have come out of the backfield to receive the football. And he'll come near side this time around, cuts the gap, and works his way inside the 5-yard line. It has been dose after dose after dose of Jarvis Green so far.
And what's so impressive about him, he's rushed for so many yards, over 2,000 yards, but he averages 9.7 yards a carry. Almost unheard of, especially in 5A football.
It's like he's gliding carrying the football.
And you know it's coming, yet stopping it is a whole different animal.
That's the definition of dominance.
Going to give it to Green one more time, looking for a hole, sealed off initially, and they'll stop him just shy of the goal line. Credit the Fort D defense for stepping up and making the stop here. Jalen White among the others who were there. Hey, his father played for those Pats, the New England Patriots, and is on staff for this Fort D squad. He's there among those defenders making the stop for these Pats, the Fort D edition of them. And work cut out for he and his teammates right here, right now. Second down goal. Appler continuing to give off to Green, and Green will not be denied. The first touchdown of the 5A state championship game. It may come as no surprise to you. It belongs to Jarvis Green, and Dutch Fork has a 6-0 lead.
Jarvis Green is a force of nature. The offensive line, let's give some love to the offensive line, though. They clear a big pathway. He's not touched until he's on the second level most plays.
Extra point coming as Welch is there to put a foot into it. His kick is no good, so it will just be 6-0 Dutch Fork. 6 for 4 on the Rush's touchdown as Jarvis Green marches Dutch Fork down the field on the opening possession to give the Foxes in their return to the state championship environment a 6-0 lead.
The most important lesson you can teach your kids about playing sports is concussion signs and symptoms. 2 out of...
Hey, conductor, how about something new? You played this last year.
Come on, get your head out of your sacks.
Shh, we're trying to hear.
Well, I'm sick and tired of hearing your kid play the wrong notes. Where's my kid solo?
At least you can see your kid. Why is my kid stuck way in the back?
The conductor only plays his favorite.
My kid heard that solo!
You saying I did?
Yeah,
Come on!
Yes, and it may, bother some, ruffle some feathers, but it's become the Dutch Fork Invitational down here each year. There's 7 years in a row, and they're not saying other teams don't have a chance. We've broadcasted games. We saw Dorman play them off their feet twice, and we've also seen last year Gaffney beat them, but Dutch Fork seems to be a participant more often than not over the last decade, right?
Won those 5 straight from 2016 to 2020, which is something that set the standard in the state of South Carolina as well. Their only loss this year to St. Francis of Maryland, an out-of-state team, so continuing to remain perfect in the Palmetto State to this point. Here's a touchback. You were going to mention something about that St. Francis team.
That team was top 5 in the nation at that time,
yes,
by the way. So he took that, and they lost, 26-7. St. Francis is a dominant program.
And I'm going to highlight their path here one more time. They defeated that Dorman team. They played twice for the state championship, then Spartanburg, then Gaffney in succession. To answer the question, how would they fare if they were in the upstate bracket? They ended up faring very well, and they're back here in the state championship.
Absolutely.
Opponent is going to be quite a formidable foe just from a rivalry standpoint in the Patriots of 4D. They take the field offensively for the first time. Zoltan Osborne, who has 1,200-plus yards passing and 11 touchdowns, leads them out there, but he's got those 2 1,000-yard backs, the combo of Brown and Reynolds. And this is going to go off left side Reynolds, and he dives forward for the first down. There's a Will Lou Gray opportunity to school first down for Zion Reynolds. So you're going to see both backs extensively today, Coach. It's important that they both play well.
And both of them, like I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, have rushed for over 1,000 yards. Brown has had 12 touchdowns, Reynolds 17, so they're not scared to use either one of them.
We're going to get acquainted with so many of the playmakers throughout the day. Many of them headed for the Shrine Bowl, many of them headed for the North-South game, many of them headed for Saturdays like this in which they're playing in college stadiums beyond this year. A lot of great talent on this field. Ryan Reynolds, one of those, and Zion Reynolds will have the handoff again, has about 4 here as we work our way under 10 minutes remaining in the opening period. First possession of the football game for Fort Dorchester as the Patriots go on the march.
That last tackle made by John Buteau, one of the linebackers. Chandler Perry and John Buteau, they play a 4-2 scheme. Those guys cover the field a lot. They'll make a lot of tackles there, and that's going to be key for them if they're going to bottle up this big, strong backfield of Fort Dorchester.
Yeah, that secondary grouping and how they handle things. You're right, Stacy. Buteau, Perry, the combo that they are going to be critical when you're dealing with both backs, the combo of Brown and Reynolds. Motion being used here by Fort D. On the money, that pops out. Will it be? It's going to be incomplete. The official right on top of it and rules it incomplete. But you talk about a timely arrival, Stacey Huff.
Chandler Perry is a heat-seeking missile. I believe that was 29 there, the North-South selection. He's a 3-year starter. He's always been laying the lumber. And look at that, dislodging the football. You can't coach it any better than that.
You could write a textbook on his arrival there, Coach. That's exactly how you teach it.
He kept his head up, drove through the potential receiver, and knocked him to the ground.
Man, that was awesome. But Perry is a guy who's, again, a lot of people, he's Charleston Southern commit, A lot of people feel like if he was a little bit bigger, he got a lot of P5 offers, but he'll go to Charleston Southern and have a great career down there.
Well, today's the day you can certainly put a little spotlight on yourself.
Absolutely.
And start like that, why not? Here's the third down play. Going to keep it up the middle, right on that far side hash. Looks like it's about a yard shy of the first down with forward progress as we call Davion Brown's name for the first time. And here's the entire grouping defensively for Dutch Fork as we give you a glance at their starting lineup.
Also, if you take a look right at number 41, Jalen Hinton is starting to get some college offers now. He's actually the leading tackler. We talk about Perry, Puto, some other guys. 41, Jalen Hinton, who's also an academic stud as well. He's getting Ivy League looks academically and for football.
That's the Kopowski and Shirley Law starting lineup defensively for Dutch Fork. Going to be tested right here as Fort D set to go for it just inside their own territory on 4th and 1. Osborne gets the snap. Trying to spin out of the initial tackle is Brown. He will not be able to do so, and Dutch Fork holds. Silver Foxes score on their opening drive, and they turn the Patriots away with this 4th down stop.
It's surprising to me. A lot of people like to get in shotgun on 4th and short. If you look at Fort Dorchester's offensive line, they've got 2 kids over 300 pounds in the middle of the line, and I would like to try to sneak it if I got in that situation.
High schools nowadays don't go in the center anymore.
Chandler, Perry, and Jones were there again, Stacy.
Those guys, you will call that Perry name a lot. It might be the Chandler Perry show at this rate, but would you give the ball back to Jarvis Green this quickly on that side of the field?
Well, Jarvis Green did all the heavy lifting on that opening drive for Dutch Fork on the way to a 6-0 advantage. Foxes just as quickly looking for more. A little motion here as they will reset Ross's position, put him in a blocking position for Green, and Green stopped after a handful. But, you know, even when it's not that most impressive of the runs, Coach, Green is still, of course, this will stop. We'll let them sort this out on the officiating side of things. But that's a reminder that even on Green's non-power runs, non-memorable runs, he's still capable of getting 3 or 4, and on first down, you'll take it all day long.
Certainly will. And I think the penalty perhaps maybe weren't set. They were trying to shift and use motion and had 2 people moving at the same time.
Backs them up 5, and that does a little more work to do for Green and company now as it'll rest just inside the 45-yard line.
Nobody uses tight end motion more than Tom Knotts. He does it a lot. He uses it a lot. Every now and then he'll surprise you and throw it to him, but he always uses the tight end as his lead blocker in motion.
No movement this time, and no motion this time as it's given off to Green left side. Goes to the 40, so he gets back about where he was the last time around.
And to follow what Stacy said, when I talked with Coach LaPrade, he said Dutch Fork utilizes their tight ends as well as anybody. Sometimes they'll even play 3 in the game and make you get some odd mismatches as far as run play and pass situations.
It's going to be interesting to see how that chess match plays out. One thing that Coach Knotts made clear to us when we visited with him prior to this game, he said, when I walked off this field last year, it was among my lowest moments in football. I reminded my young men today what it felt like to walk off this field last year, and that we wanted to change that feeling this year. Off to a good start to that end with a 6-0 lead. Of course, they did end up going back and avenging that loss to Gaffney. We talked about it on the road last week, but he was very clear, Coach. He said, never have I been quite as low in football as I was walking off this field last year, and I reminded these young men of that as we started today.
He certainly did, and also to show you the talent of Green, they lined him up at quarterback, and he threw a deep fade route there.
They'll use him in a variety of ways, and it speaks to how much intentionality, Stacy, there is to try to erase that memory from a year ago.
Without a doubt, they've been on a mission all year, and they've been kind of ramped up for this day today, and here we are.
Felt like they didn't close, something they've done so often. Appler back into quarterback position now. He'll toss this out near the sticks. That was Isaiah Jones out there who ended up making the catch just a couple of yards shy of the first down. So here's a chance for that Fort D defense now to return the favor, Coach.
Yes, and they've got a chance to try to make a big stop here. Big momentum play.
4th down, and they're going to call it a long couple, I guess you could say 3 here, as they need to get across the 29-yard line. Going quickly, Appler going to call his own number, and he's near the marker. Now, where the official's walking out from, it looks like he's going to be turned away by the Patriots.
Yeah, a lot of times we talked earlier, the quarterbacks will carry the ball a little bit more later in the season when more's on the line. And with Green in the backfield, a fake to him will attract a lot of people.
Yeah, you'll take the reins off when it gets this deep in the year because nothing else to wait for at this point. It's the championship environment. Plenty of life on the near side as Fort D comes away with the stop. The Patriots, Stacy, today are playing with a great deal of emotion. They're playing for Coach Jack Radcliffe, who they lost along the way. They've got another wide receiver coach who's battling cancer in the forefront of their mind. Lost a young man with a broken arm, Trey Ryan, who does so many good things for this team. And they said, we're playing for all those who've been a part of this thing along the way. You saw that kind of energy from them right there.
Absolutely. They have a community behind them. Thoughts and prayers to the families affected, but they came in trying to win the ball game, not make it close. They want to get a title.
Well, and this is a group that knows something about getting a title. Keep it on the ground, dig it right up the middle. They won the 2015 Class 4A D1 title. They were the last one to win it before Dutch Fork went on that run from 16 to 20. This is the second appearance in the state championship environment for Fort Dorchester. And here's a Will Lou Gray Opportunity School first down as they go back to those backs. We dip under 6.5 to play. This is a key drive for Fort D. Osborne able to step out of trouble. He's going to take a deep look. Receiver's there and will be driven out of bounds inside the 10-yard line. That is Multi Snyder, who is the favorite target of Osborne. And you were going to say it, Stacy. You might as well go ahead.
Multi-dimensional player.
You got it.
Got it done. And on the coverage that time, got beat. Ben Montgomery is a pretty good cover. They got him with his head turned the wrong way. Great throw, great catch. Great execution by Fort D. Defense
so often breeds offense and generates that energy. It does for Fort D here, Coach.
It did. That defensive stop gave them a chance, and if Dutch Fork would have scored then, it sometimes changes your game plan early, too early.
Looking at 13 or 14 to nothing, depending upon what happened on the ensuing deal. Now, with that extra point missed, I noticed you grabbed the wallet, brought it out, and you have the 2-point chart ready to go. We've needed it so often in these state championship games. So if it comes to that, you're ready for us today.
I'm ready, and a lot of people don't like to use it early. I'll use it all the time because those people that figured it out are a lot smarter than me.
Coach, how long have you been retired? I'm sorry, how long have you been retired, Coach?
About 50 years.
And he still has that, he never forgets the 2-point chart.
And listen, I saw him in Greenville a few weeks ago, and he had it in his pocket, so it's not just for football games.
He just walks around with it. I love it, Coach.
5.5 minutes remaining in the opening period. Fort D looking to answer. What a lift for the crew out of the low country on that long pass connection to Snyder. They'll give it back to Brown, and he's going to work his way left side for maybe a yard or two. And so a big third down is coming here, Stacy.
This is going to be huge. Both teams have failed on fourth down, so they got to be cognizant of that. Both teams have tried a fourth down and didn't get it. That makes pressure. It puts pressure on third down because you've got tougher decisions now because you've already had a failed fourth down attempt, so it may not be 2-down territory.
You have the options of Reynolds and Brown. We saw what Snyder can do. The likes of Bellum and Ham and Walker there as options through the air as well. Keep an eye on Snyder. He is down bottom side right inside the 10-yard line.
And he's got one-on-one coverage, so they may be looking at him.
They're going to keep it on the ground. Here's Reynolds. Reynolds into all kind of traffic, and in the trenches, Dutch Fork closes the gap.
4th and a lot. 4th and 5 is going to look like. If you got a good field goal kicker, this might be the place for him, but yeah, they're going to trot him out right here.
Christian Wilson will be on to try to kick it. Remember, the holder, Ryan, is the young man with the broken arm, so they're going to go with Banks Wickersham to hold it this time.
I've never seen this before. Number 81, the kicker, took out a new ball, so I'm sure that's his lucky kicking ball. He handed it to the official so they could exchange it so he could kick it.
Customized to his taste.
And keep in mind, I'll say it one more time, new responsibility for the holder in Wickersham, who is right there to try to put it down far side hash. It's going to be a 22-yard try to put Fort Dorchester on the board. The Patriots connect as Christian Wilson punches this through to make it a 6-3 contest. Took a little time for both teams to get on the board in the 5A title game. We'll have much more of today's broadcast presented by A&I Fire and Water Restoration when you return to Columbia after this.
And that holder's a nice.
There was a time when a person's word was enough. A time
Care. With Absolute Total Care, you get access to a large network of doctors near you, whole health benefits, including mental health support, plus Absolute Total Care members earn dollar rewards for making healthy choices like going to the doctor. Learn more. AbsoluteTotalCare.com is a proud sponsor of the South Carolina High School League. So it ends in a field goal, a 22-yard field goal connected on by Christian Wilson to put the Patriots on the board. This is a Patriots team, they dealt with the rival to get here in Summerville, took care of business to earn their second trip back to the state championship game. This is a battle-tested group, and they showed it with what they did both defensively and then offensively there, Coach.
And I think it was a key, as we talked earlier, that fourth down stop. If Dutch Fork takes it in and scores in, sometimes you get in a mindset too early to get rid of your game plan and try to dish it. But both of these are poised teams. They know how to handle adversity.
Speaking of Summerville, here comes the Summerville Ford kickoff. Summerville Ford, you'll pay too much if it's not Summerville Ford. And here's a foot into it. We'll see what kind of response Dutch Fork has on the return. Silver Fox is going to see this brought back across the 30 and up to the 34-yard line. That's where they'll take over. How about yardage thus far? 77 yards of total offense for Dutch Fork, 84 yards of total offense for Fort D to this point.
Yes, about what you expect. It's hard fought early. They're filling each other out. I got a feeling you'll see much more explosiveness as we go along. 3:47 to play in the first quarter. By the way, Chandler Perry on that kickoff return.
Yeah, Chandler Perry doing a little bit of everything.
Yes.
Why not?
Yes.
Hey, 0 for 5 combined on third and fourth down between these two teams in the early going. Tuck that away in the back of your mind as well. Coming near side and lowering the shoulder to try and get that last little bit of effort there is Trent Lodge, who's the ball carrier for Dutch Fork this time around.
Yeah, they'll play three backs and sometimes McGuire the snaps as well.
Well, we've given you some numbers a moment ago. How about go ahead and take a snapshot of what Jarvis Green has done thus far? Your thoughts on his play, Coach?
Well, he's definitely the big-time player. He's making the big runs for them, running really hard. I think they'll keep using him. They'll start sneaking him into the passing game for long.
Goes back his direction now. Works his way outside, finds the corner, and is into Fort Dorchester territory and deep into Fort Dorchester territory as he's finally brought down at the 20-yard line. Another tremendous run on cue for Mr. Green.
Well, you can say whatever you want about him. He breaks tackles. He's running through blockers. Making big plays, getting every yard he possibly can.
41 yards later, Stacy has them set up in that red zone, in the Holy City Heating and Air red zone. And it's going to be Appler calling his own number this time, down around the 13. Boy, Jarvis Green can change the game with one touch of the football, can he not?
Without a question. Again, I've seen him play enough first quarters and first halves where he totally dominated the ball game. But again, I credit our offensive line. They do a good job of keeping people off of him, letting them get a head of steam up. And he's faster than people seem to think. He gets to that corner, and he finishes runs very well also. James Madison committed, you mentioned. And you wonder sometimes if bigger schools sniffing around this young man.
Yeah, well, so far, the Dukes got to love what they're seeing.
Absolutely.
From his start to the state championship environment. It's Green again. Why not? He keeps working through every level of defense for Fort D and is down to the 5-yard line this time. I mentioned that he's closing in on 4,500 yards for his career, among the best when it comes to the history of one of the storied programs, certainly across the last decade or so. Last week in the contest with Gaffney, the upper state title game, went over 2,000 for this year. Ball on the ground. Looks like Fort D had a grasp on it. Were they able to hang on at the bottom of the pile? No official signal just yet.
That should be Fort D football.
And it is going to be the Patriots' ball. This defense has a defensive stop and now a takeaway.
Green is down on the ground. I'm not sure how hurt he is, but he's laying pretty still right now.
Yeah, as the pile kind of dissipates there and Fort Dorchester comes running out of there with the ball, you can see that Jarvis Green is, in fact, very slow to get up. And the training staff there to work with him. Boy, this would be a game changer as you see them tending to that right knee and upper thigh area, Coach. Certainly the last thing you want to see right here.
No, you hate it for any player because it's such an important game of their life.
Just one more glance at exactly what took place. You see the ball come out, no question about that. And then it looked like his knee and his leg got pinned up underneath all those bodies.
Yeah, that's a tough way to go down, and then he lost. That's why the ball came out, mainly because of the pain. Wonder was he down, but it doesn't matter. Great job by Fort D. They did a great job.
Well, that was a great look at how quickly the ball came out of there. I mean, the ball was out quick, and then it was just a matter of, I think, as he went to the ground, the force of those other bodies on top of him pinned that leg up underneath. And a moment of concern right now is you certainly hope to see Jarvis Green pop back up quickly, and you can see the concern on the faces of the Dutch Fork faithful on the far side.
Yeah, he's in a lot of pain right there, and that was just a great job by Fort D getting to the ball. That play was going nowhere anyway. They rallied to the football like they've done on big plays early in this ball game, and Coach Knotts out there now standing over Green. It's been no secret about how Coach Knotts feels about Jarvis Green. He's ridden him a lot and speaks of him very, very highly as a student and an athlete.
And the thing, if we happen to lose him from the game, he's such a valuable asset of their passing game. If he's not the leading receiver, he's the top 1 or 2.
That's a great point.
And they get the ball to him so many different ways.
Getting him up now.
It's 33 receptions at the top, and he's up, and you would hope he can walk off under his own power. We certainly hope that would be the case for anybody on all sides, as you see the numbers already. I mean, here's a back that we're not through the first quarter yet. In fact, we've got 2 minutes and change left in it. He's already up over 100 yards and has a touchdown. That speaks to his contributions.
1 quarter.
And you see he's averaging 11.8 in the state championship game. This is not against a smaller school early in your schedule or somebody like that. He's doing against the best of the best.
We'll keep an eye on how quickly he can return. I know Natalie's roaming the sidelines. We'll try to check with her soon and see what we can find out about the status of Jarvis Green. Dutch Fork's drive comes to a close, though, with the takeaway, a forced fumble by Fort D. Think about the way this defense has stood tall. A turnover on downs, and now the takeaway inside the red zone, and they'll hand it off in the direction of Zion Reynolds. And let's camp there just a moment. It's worth revisiting. Coach, this defense for Fort D, they've answered the bell. A 4th down stop, and now a forced fumble inside the red zone. Both times it could have been points for Dutch Fork.
And certainly that carries over to the offense, saying that, okay, we can do something. We're not going to let them score every time. It gives you a little bit of boost on offense as well.
Through the first line of defense and up to the 20-yard line as Reynolds gets it again, and he tries to create a little breathing room. Well, both these teams have been so busy, we haven't paid off the starting lineups for you yet. Let's take a look at the Shirley and Popowski and Shirley Law starting lineups for you on the Fort Dorchester side. Here they are offensively. Who else do you highlight offensively, Coach, besides the backs?
Well, Multi Snyder, number 84, their coach told me, watch out for him. He's their kind of big-time receiver. We're playing 2 running backs for over 1,000 yards, and the quarterback's a north-south player. They certainly, and the offensive line is huge. They're as big as some college teams.
And remember, Snyder made the big catch that set up the field goal just a moment ago, so he's been in the thick of it. Those are our Popowski and Shirley Law starting lineups. They have an attorney you can speak with today, Popowski and Shirley, there for you. Check them out. They're sponsors of our starting lineups throughout the state championship broadcast. 1 minute remaining in the opening period. And for those who thought it may get out of hand right away, and that was some of the conversation around the state based upon the history of Dutch Fork, based upon the expectation coming in. Fort Dorchester's taken this thing to the final seconds of the opening period, down just a field goal. And down on the field is one of those key linemen for Fort D. See if we can get a number on who that
54,
is.
54, Gabe Summers, I believe.
Okay, Summers is the player down. But, boy, you have to credit the work he's done, his offensive line, Stacy, and Fort Dorchester as a unit, that we're just about to head into the second quarter of a game that's separated by less than a touchdown.
They've done a great job. As you take a look at the
here's what happened
right here, but the offensive line's done a great job the entire ball game, creating room for the big running backs. And you see just an awkward fall right there. Sometimes you get friendly fire, collateral damage, people running past you when your legs are exposed as a lineman. You see him not putting a lot of weight on that right leg.
Training staff out there, as well as his head coach out there as well. Got a chance to visit with him extensively, Coach, as a part of the week's prep. What were your takeaways from the way he handled his players and handled the championship week?
Well, they were excited to play Dutch Fork, knowing they had a big challenge ahead, but they felt like they need to make it a physical game. They need to. Dutch Fork is a very explosive offensive team. They need to do a good job of controlling the ball when they're on offense, and to make sure they try to figure out a way to stop Green if they could.
One of the great gentlemen in this game, Coach LaPrati, talked about how it's been a tough year with some of the off-the-field stuff that we documented, but they're playing with emotion for all those whose shoulders they stand on in a championship environment like this. And now they're no doubt playing for one of those linemen out of commission at the moment, up across the 35 to the 36-yard line on this carry. Stacy, I got to ask you, What have you seen from Fort Dorchester so far as we close in on the final half minute of the period, and they find themselves on a drive that could give them the lead here?
Yeah, football at the end of everything is a very physical game. I think on both lines, defensive line on that fourth down play, for instance, and on the offensive on most snaps, they're firing off and being real physical at the point of contact on the offensive line and defensive line for Fort D. Physicality.
Saw it on that last play. Sets up a second down and very manageable. 15 seconds left in the opening period. A little bit overcast, no rain falling right now, though it looks like it could at any moment. But nice conditions for this championship game. Couple of yards, that's about all as they keep it on the ground here. Let's talk field conditions and the turf when we come back in the second quarter, because that's one of the main storylines. These teams got themselves ready by playing on some turf this week. A lot of preparation coming into this game, and it has paid off. A tight Class 5A title bout through one quarter. Dutch Fork 6, Fort Dorchester 3 after 1.
Is your child?
What rhymes with great?
Participate.
Where does greatness start? Here, in the classroom. On the stage.
In the pool. On the field. Where will your greatness take you?
To better grades.
To more friends.
Yeah! Be great.
Participate!
The innocence of youth. Is there anything any better? But soon they'll be in high school and facing all the same challenges you faced. How to make friends, how to fit in, how to be cool. We want our children to have everything they'll need to live fulfilling and productive lives. Make sure the kids in your family are among the more than 12 million participants in America who take part in high school sports or activities.
One period in the books in the 5A title game. 6-3 is the Dutch Fork lead. Time to check in field side with Natalie Spalla.
Yeah, hey guys, I got an update on Jarvis Green. It is actually his right hip that they were stretching here along the sideline. He was in the training tent and he said he got folded in between a player. That is kind of what the issue is right now. He was over here in the training tent. They were stretching him out back and forth. He has since been walking and running along the sideline, and he has rejoined his team under their media tent, but I did ask their trainer if he is going back into the game. We will see. That was the answer I was given, so I guess we will see.
Well, as reading the tea leaves, Natalie, he had the helmet in hand a moment ago.
We sure did.
We will see. Thank you, Natalie, doing such a nice job for us field side across the course of the entire weekend. First play of the second quarter coming, and it's a third down for Fort D after the takeaway on the fumble by Green. A little eager to get rolling here as flags fly. While they sort this out, this will give us a chance to talk a little bit about the conditions. Bit of rain earlier, supposed to rain off and on throughout the day, but nice turf here at Benedict, Stacy, that can handle it well.
Well, absolutely. It's built for that, and this field turf they put in years ago, and it's gotten rave reviews. And we were down there for about 11:30. We got a little light rain. Some more may come at 1 o'clock or so, but yeah, it shouldn't be a factor, I don't think.
Yeah, overcast right now. That's all we're dealing with. And, Coach, you know, you think about the fact of what it means to play on turf, maybe something you're not accustomed to. These teams prepared for it in a way we'll talk about in a moment. First, let's take a glance at our first half stats. Anything jump out at you two?
The third down conversions, both teams a little disappointing.
Well, throw the fourth one's in there as well, right?
We have offers on those.
Throw the fourth one's in there also. Third down coming. This time it's going to be third down and 9. Osborne looking to take a deep shot and trying to sell the interference. It looks like it was balked by the officials as all 3 flags come in. Well, you could tell he began to throw his hands in the air as if where's the flag did the intended target, and there they came, 3 of them in bunches, and it's going to be a major lift to continue the Fort Dorchester drive.
Yeah, they've thrown deep twice, so they must feel like they can, if they do throw, they can catch maybe Dutch Fork in some one-on-one situations. That was Darius Bellum that was going for that as a receiver.
And you can see it is pass interference, going to be a first down. Stacey, you wanted to get something here?
Of course, the key to throwing the ball long, you got to protect the passer, and they've done a great job of keeping Dutch Fork's defenders out of their backfield. Good job. Once again, I'm lauding the offensive line, but great job up front by Fort Dorchester.
Yeah, think about Summers, Murphy, Dees. They call him Bronco Thompson, who's up on that line as well, and Brown. That group doing such a nice job for the backs. And one more thought on balls on the ground here. Dutch Fork trying to get to it, but they've blown this dead before that took place. Now, one more thought on the field condition situation, Coach. You learned that Fort Dorchester was very intentional about preparing themselves to play here on the artificial surface.
They did. On Thursday, I went down to try to watch them practice, and they were practicing over at Somerville on artificial turf. So I didn't actually see them on the field, but I think they got a good practice session in there.
Certainly want to make it as familiar as possible coming here and playing on this artificial turf, with the games having moved here to Benedict a few years ago. A different wrinkle, something you want to make sure your young men are ready for. But it will drain well throughout the day if needed. This is rushed near side. Dutch Fork's front having none of it. White jerseys swarm to the ball, and they push Reynolds back for a loss.
I mentioned her injury earlier. Summers, I thought, was hurt. It was actually Jamone Brown, number 58. He tried to go back in. He came limping off and told his coach his ankle was heavily wrapped. We don't know if we'll see him back at right tackle, but it could affect the play call selection if you lose a starting offensive lineman.
And certainly on that right side, when you think about the contributions he's made, that group we talked about all year long, making holes for this crew. Another third down, somewhat long here. Going to be 3rd and 10 with 10.5 remaining in the second quarter. Fort Dorchester trying to make the turnover count on what's been an extended drive, and this is caught out far side. Boy, that's another tremendous toss that direction, and why not with the way Multi-Snyder has performed all season long.
Yeah, they were giving them that cushion there because it was 3rd and long. They did a good job coming up making the tackle. You asked your corners, if you're going to play that kind of coverage, you must make that tackle. And it was a good short tackle made on that side that time by Montgomery, number 31.
So here comes 4th down. Fort D into Dutch Fork territory. The punting unit comes out as they'll try to simply pin the Silver Foxes deep here. You ever think about it in a moment like this, Coach?
Whether you should go for it or not?
Too early?
If you're the underdog, I think you might think about it. But I don't think your defense has come up with a couple of good stops lately. I think you just try to play field position.
That's the point I was hoping you were going to get to. When you think about the way the defense has performed, it certainly makes that decision to kick it away a little easier. Try to pin them deep, see if you can get some good field position as we roll forward. We will roll forward on the other side of the break. The South Carolina 5A title game, our broadcast presented by A&I Fire and Water Restoration, continues after this.
Where's Olivia?
Environmental Control Halftime Report, a special interview from a member of the South Carolina High School League staff. First half highlights, a bunch more coming for you at the half of this 5A title game, which Dutch Fork leads 6-3. So our Foxes have the football back now. One of the storylines of this first half, when you get to halftime here in a moment, is going to be the departure earlier of Green after he fumbled the football, was a little banged up on the play in which Fort D got the takeaway inside the red zone. We just saw him emerge and join the huddle a moment ago. So when you're looking for storylines, he is back for Fort Dorchester, or excuse me, back for Dutch Fork as they go to work against Fort Dorchester here with 9:37 to play. So emerging storylines, one of the biggest of the day, the fact that Jarvis Green is back out there as part of the mix. And not only is he back out there, he is going the distance. Green, well, he's going to be caught at the 3.
Did he start coasting?
You wonder if there was any reason why he stopped and dropped it a gear. But, Stacy, it was clear that at about the 10-yard line, he was gone, and he dropped it into a different gear. Now, this becomes a play of the game nominee, and it becomes one of the premier runs for Green. But he kind of glanced at it. He knew they were there, Coach, but just did not take it on in for the touchdown. Big surprise there.
He was looking at the guy to his right, and the guy from behind caught up with him. It looked like he almost eased up a little bit.
Interesting. Let's see if Dutch Fork can capitalize, punch it in here. Big surprise at the end of that because Green, you know, we all three are looking at each other. He's gone, and instead it's going to be 1st and goal, Foxes, and it will be Appler who tries to take it in and will. Bounces off the left side. It's of little consequence as the drive is finished anyway. The long run by Green in his return to the ball game, the difference maker. And after Green toted the rock for the tune of 79 yards, the last couple on this drive finished off by Appler, and Dutch Fork has its 2nd touchdown of the day, nonetheless. Well, I would have said till we saw the very end of that, Jarvis Green looked no worse for wear, right? After coming out one play, takes it 70 plus. But is not quite able to close the deal, though Dutch Fork will. And the Foxes punch this through for the extra point to make it 13-3. The lead growing to its high water mark of 10. A long run by the JMU commit Jarvis Green. Appler caps it. We'll be back to Columbia with more of the 5A title game. Our broadcast presented by A&I Fire and Water Restoration right after these messages.
High school sports fans, relive your favorite moments. Just click the shopping cart below the video player to get your digital copy today.
Welcome back to the 5A State Championship game broadcast presented by A&I Fire and Water Restoration. And we remind you that coming up at the conclusion, we will have our Warren and Dillon player of the game. Well, there's a strong candidate already for that with the work that Green has done, 185 yards and a touchdown. Would have had 2 touchdowns. This is how close it was to being a 2nd touchdown. But I want you to focus in on the hustle play to catch him when all look lost.
Yes, he never gave up chasing from behind.
Get that number, that masked man.
That was Jalen White who did the good work. Remember, we talked about his dad playing for the Patriots,
yes,
the New England Patriots. On this staff, he learned NFL-style hustle and put it on display right there, Stacey.
Without a doubt, and it's that heart and hustle that helps you win championships. Fort Dorchester brings a lot of heart and talent up here.
Now, they end up capping the drive with the touchdown from Liam Appler, so it's of little consequence in the end, but that kind of hustle will pay off along the way throughout the day. Will this roll into the end zone or out of bounds? About as close as it gets. It is a touchback, as it was just this side of the pylon when all is said and done. Fort D looking to respond now for a little more on the Patriots. Here's Natalie.
Yeah, guys, I've got that injury update on Jamon Brown. He's the starting defensive lineman over here on Fort Dorchester, and he did have his right ankle taped before the game, but he was being treated by the training staff over here, and it was actually pointing to his right knee, so they were doing a good job kind of stretching that out. They actually wrapped over his shoe. He did get up from the training table and started walking around, but he was shaking his head. He is still under the training table, and we'll just see if he comes back. The training staff, I spoke with them, and they said they hope. So we're going to be wishful thinking over here for him to get back into this one. It doesn't look good, guys.
Well, all of us certainly sharing those sentiments. Thank you, Natalie. Coming near side as they give it to Davion Brown. And he's got a handful there, looks like, as he works his way to about a 3, maybe 4 yard gain. You know, he was the player, Coach, when we were standing around on the field prior to the game talking to both coaches, that had a little something to say to the other side, the guys in the other colors.
Yeah, sometimes that's not very good. As a head coach, you don't want to see that happen. You don't want to motivate anybody on the other side. It's a good football team anyway.
Speaks to his energy, though, speaks to his intensity coming into a day like this. They rely heavily upon him throughout. Looking to take a shot far side, and that's caught. Did he get the foot in bounds? The answer to that question is yes. A tremendous playmaker in Multi-Snyder, who is there one more time to move the chains.
Perfect throw by Osborne. That was a north-south type throw right there. He laid it. It was well defended. He dropped it in a bucket. That's just a perfect throw. You can't throw it any better than that. That's a big-time play by a big-time player.
Second major connection of the day between those two, Osborne and Snyder, Coach.
And that was what Coach Pratt told me the other day, that 84, you're going to like him as a receiver when you see him play. And he's certainly proven that point.
Osborne 3 for 4 for 92 yards. A couple of those, as we said, going Snyder's direction. Actually, all 3 of them. He's got 3 catches for the 92 yards to this point, and everything halted as timeout, it looks like, was called for by Fort Dorchester. Patriots wanting to talk it over ahead of the first down play at the 41-yard line. 7:54 to go in the opening half of action. Feels like an important drive for Fort Dorchester, Stacy. They had that chance a moment ago after the takeaway, drove to the middle of the field, saw things stall. But here they are now, needing to answer the bell as Dutch Fork has stretched out a little bit of a lead here.
Yeah, exactly. Two things are emerging in this ball game. Fort Dorchester is having a hard time containing the run game with Jarvis Green, this awesome athletic ability he has in that offensive line. But the other side is Fort Dorchester has the passing game, and Dutch Fork had better come up with some answers for that. So both teams have things they like right now. The thing is, when everything's even, you can't get into a scoring battle when you're down 10. Fort Dorchester needs to narrow this gap right here and keep the pressure on Dutch Fork.
Makes this a very important drive. What do you think the nature of this timeout is, Coach? What do you want to discuss here if you're down in that huddle?
The first thought, I thought they had an alignment problem, that maybe they were illegally aligned and will have a 5-yard penalty. And it may have been something else they saw that let's slow down and get this. Because key drive, Dutch Fork has just had a big play and scored on you. Need to control some clock and get some points here before the half.
What opens up in the playbook with those long passes like the one we just saw to Snyder?
Well, Dutch Fork is determined to stop the run, and they're forcing their corners to play a lot of one-on-one coverage. And, of course, Dutch Fork's athletes are great there, just like the receiver is for Fort Dorchester. So it's just one-on-one matchups, and whoever can come up with the deep play.
This time they go in behind the big boys up front. Major first down gain here after the movement of the chains. That, by the way, the latest a moment ago of our coastal stone flooring first downs secured by Fort Dorchester on the move here. A couple of timeouts left after that first taken of the half, and Dutch Fork has not used one. Now, a long way from really worrying about that, but if you're keeping track, that's what you want to know. And this is going to be a yard or two. So another one of those, we've highlighted those third downs and what tough sledding third down has been. Here comes another third down, Stacy.
Yeah, both teams have actually struggled on some third downs, and it comes down to the trenches right here. And you can do a lot of things with 3rd and 2, though. That passing game has been good to Fort Dorchester, though.
These teams are combined 0 for 6 on 3rd and 4th down. So will we see the first third down conversion of the ball game right here? That's what Fort D's trying to secure. Osborne. Now tipped at the line.
Jalen Hinton.
Tipped at the line, and you called it, Stacy. Jalen Hinton, the senior linebacker, able to get in there and disrupt.
Outstanding young man. I tell you, he's an Ivy League guy, academically and athletically, getting a lot of interest from the Ivy League schools, and got to coach against this kid at AAU basketball, also an accomplished basketball player coming up. So his dad's on the staff. Jalen Hinton is quietly the leading tackler for Dutch Fork.
Yeah, and I think that you make the point quietly. Not a guy who makes a lot of noise, not a vocal guy, but a guy who has certainly been a major contributor. They're going to roll the dice on 4th down. Coach is pointing to the far side of the field, up top in the direction of Snyder. And they're going to keep it on the ground, try to get this. Dutch Fork is able to provide the stop right near the marker. It's going to depend on where they spot this. A very, very close call.
I think he got it.
Stacy's right. He looks like he has it by a foot.
Yes, very close there, but I think he got it.
Looks like they're going to have to measure just to make sure. And they are going to bring the chains out just to be safe. That close that it's going to require a measurement here. And this huge 4th down conversion attempt for Fort Dorchester on a drive in which they trail 13-3 in the middle stages of the second quarter. So the fans who've made the trip up from the low country, from the Charleston area, from the North Charleston area, holding their breath right now as the chains come out. You heard the verdict of both my broadcast partners. They believe that when they stretch this out, the nose of the football is going to have it.
He did not
but it is not enough. Dutch Fork is going to come away with the stop as they end up keeping the Patriots just shy of the 1st down, and not by much.
Right. Tom Knox is glad we were wrong on that one.
6:43 to play. Well, you notice my method. Wait until they stretch the chains out and see what happens.
It was fun to throw a little guess out there. I had nothing to lose either way. So. But that's a big stop by Dutch Fork defense that time.
Lessons learned along the way.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Wait and see. 13-3 is the score. Dutch Fork back with the football now. And this is a drive for Dutch Fork as you begin to put it in perspective where they could really open up some breathing room.
Certainly, big defensive stop. Change the momentum right back. Their offense decided to get back out there. Reverse, they're going to throw a pass off of this at 17.
Goes all the way back to Appler, who looks for Jones, and he is going to take this, let's make sure, all the way in for the touchdown.
Got to make sure.
Jones with the first of the passing touchdowns.
I didn't want to sneak out the secret, but I saw him practice that several times on Wednesday. And they performed just as well today as they did on Wednesday.
It looked as good or better in live action.
Yeah, the owner of my barbershop, I tell you guys before the game, he said he's on the coaching staff at Dutch Fork. He said, look for some razzle dazzle in the first half. And look at this. Wow, well done.
That Razzle Dazzle going to be a nominee for our A&I Fire and Water Restoration Play of the Game. The Rush's touchdown belongs to Isaiah Jones, who was in the right place, right time. Appler and company, Green involved there, all executing that very well. And Dutch Fork uses a bit of a wrinkle.
Missed it again.
The extra point's going to be no good, but uses a bit of a wrinkle to extend the lead by a score at 19-3 now. And, I don't know which pockets you've got the 2-point conversion chart in, but keep it very close at hand.
Unless I'm mistaken, last year, remember the guy, they had extra point troubles last year against Gaffney that came back and got them. They had a couple that went awry, and later in that ball game, those points became a problem late in the fourth quarter, but they missed a couple last year.
Tuck that away in the back of your mind.
Absolutely.
Because those special teams plays make a difference. It's a reason that that's the 3rd team on the field, and
yes.
This time around, it's a second miss for Dutch Fork.
Always keep that chart in your wallet.
Well,
absolutely.
and think about it this way. How important is it that you make those extra points? Okay, this is still a 2-possession game.
Right.
The lead is 16.
Right.
If you kick either of those extra points, the team's got to score 3 times. So you're looking at a couple of touchdowns with 2-point conversions could suddenly, a long way to go, could suddenly even the game up. So it can prove costly to your point, Stacey.
Without a doubt. You can put teams away with the special teams, or you can leave them in the game with special teams. And Dutch Fork doing themselves no favors. Fort Dorchester, not expecting to go anywhere. They came up here on a mission. They're playing with a lot of fire and heart. Every point is going to matter as we head down to the second half of this ball game.
The lead is the max of 2 possessions right now. Welch, who was 78 of 81 in the PAT department across the course of the year, with almost as many misses here in the start of the state championship game. Return across the 34 to the 35-yard line, right on the edge of it. All right, Stacey, 6:26 left to play. Your thoughts as Fort D gets ready to put together this drive?
They're multifaceted.
You want to see a multifaceted drive?
He's been the guy. He's gotten a big catch, and he's drawn some interference penalties with feet getting caught up, and just doing a good job getting behind the Dutch Fork secondary. I think now's the time he's that guy. It might be now to go ahead time and put the multi-plan in effect.
Well, and it's worth underscoring again, 3 completions for Osborne so far. All 3 of them are his direction, and he has the 92 yards that are the 92 yards the Patriots have through the air. Good work being done on the ground right here, though. That goes right to the top of that Benedict logo, is running over the first couple of lines of defense before eventually being brought to a halt. Move the chains as Zion Reynolds is looking sharp on the latest of the Coastal Stone Flooring first downs. Well, he was relentless on this run.
Absolutely. He answered me about the passing game with a 12-yard run.
Well, you know, sometimes they hear you, sometimes they don't, right? Goes right into the line of scrimmage. But there's plenty there for Dutch Fork. And among those that put their hats on it to make the stop is Josh Smith, a name we haven't really called yet. The 40 has been in the thick of things throughout also.
Yeah, he, Hinton, and Buteau, excuse me, number 24 was there as well. So, yeah, they're getting hats to the ball, but every now and then you see that size of Fort Dorchester push that crowd.
That's one of the things you noticed right away. What are the numbers you were keeping up with, Coach?
I looked at their roster. They have 25 players over 225 pounds.
Wow.
You heard him right. 25 over 225 on the Fort D roster.
That's huge.
5.5 minutes remaining in the opening half. Osborne steps up. They kept him a pocket, but it begins to collapse now. Somehow he still gets away with help from the offensive line. Going to set his feet, throw this deep, and it will land harmlessly and incomplete. Pounding the turf is Osborne, as he had to do a good bit of work just to get away right there.
Looking back, he probably says, I wish I'd have run. I may have got it in a 3rd and short situation. He had maybe enough room to get 5 or 6 yards on the corner.
Instead, he faces a 3rd down behind the sticks. 3rd and long. They're going to need the 44-yard line, are the Patriots, to move the chains.
Show some good athletic ability just to get that pass off, though. Good footwork.
Yeah, the escape hatch was very small,
yes,
and he still found a way out of there.
Houdini a little bit on that one.
Here's the 3rd down and 11. Again, looking for the 44 on the other side of the field. This time he will not be able to get away. No Houdini act this go round, as big 5'7" Terrence Wells is in there. The junior defensive end makes the stop.
Wow, he read the mail on that one, didn't he? Came through, looks like unblocked. He never had a chance.
And I think he was rushing against a backup who's come in for a starting right tackle on Fort Dorchester. So it might be a great football player, but maybe hadn't played as many plays this year as a starter.
Trying to capitalize on that. That's an outstanding pickup. He's Coach Eddie Muldrow, long-time legendary Chapin head coach and a former Gamecock wide receiver. And Stacy Huff is also alongside here. Does so many of the games for you in the Midlands. And it's our pleasure to have you with us for the 5A state title game on this day. Jason Patterson alongside these two gentlemen, walking you through it. 4.5, that's about what remains here. Dutch Fork set to get the ball back, and here comes some of the separation that Dutch Fork was looking for. And we've been keeping an eye on the injuries and how they've developed along the way. There is Brown, who you heard about a bit earlier, as he's being iced up here. You wonder what the status will be. You heard Natalie say maybe not so promising, but he's got that leg wrapped pretty nicely right now.
Looks like a shin injury, and again, every kid wants to be out there, so if it's possible, he'll work his way to get back in the game.
Dutch Fork, you remember, used the reverse in the pass the last time around. A little more methodical here as it goes to Jarvis Green.
And I'd like to get a heads up to both athletic trainers. Those people on the coaching staff are sometimes overlooked. We saw how they got Green back in the game. And if this young man can get back in, you have to give credit to Fort Dorchester staff as well.
Absolutely.
Very valuable people in your program.
Unsung heroes, some of the hardest workers when it comes to this sport. Green, unable to get away, about a yard, that's all. So after a very positive first down gain, 3rd down and 4 coming. And if you're tracking it, still an 0 for 9 on 3rd and 4th down between these two teams thus far. So we're still looking for the first 3rd down conversion of the game as you get one more look at that last run, the 1-yard run by Jarvis Green.
Good job by the Fort D defense pursuing to the ball. That was good team speed get there, Jason.
3rd down, they're going to call it 4. Can somebody make one of these at some point? We'll see if it happens right here course, Dutch Fork hadn't needed a lot of third downs. 0 for 1 on third, 0 for 1 on fourth. Really been more of the Achilles heel right now of Fort D. 0 for 5 on third, 0 for 2 on fourth. So a combined 0 for 7 in trying to extend drives for Fort D to keep up with it.
Now, if I'm Fort Dorchester, I'd look for them to get green on a pass. They haven't gotten him the ball. He has run it so well they hadn't needed to, but he may be slipping out of the backfield. They do a great job of getting the ball a lot of different ways.
Yeah, maybe a decent time to add that to the playbook. You are correct, Coach. Well, as we close in on the final minutes of the first half, your takeaways while we have this brief pause and the timeout on the field. What are your takeaways from what you've seen so far?
I feel like Dutch Fork saying, we're going to gamble and take away your running game. We're going to battle you one-on-one outside if you want to try to throw it, but we're going to try to stop you from running and force you just to be a passing team.
Stacey, we'll obviously talk adjustments at the half, but what do you see already right now that you're keeping an eye on?
Well, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, Dutch Fork has to do some different things in their pass defense, either in the back end and getting to the pressure on the quarterback. They did it a couple of times, but they've gotten hurt on long pass plays. And, of course, Fort Dorchester's got to show up. Jarvis Green, they got to do a good job of keeping him from getting untracked. Once he's in the secondary, it's almost over at that point.
Saw the Silver Fox. He's got the belt on there, trying to wear that title again, something they've done extensively. Since the state moved to 5A classification, they've won every championship but one. That was the one a year ago and played in that one as well, the one that ended up going the way of the Gaffney Indians. This is going to be caught, and there it is, the initial third down conversion of the football game as you can move the chains with a coastal stone flooring first down. Here's how they picked it up. Coach, I'm beginning to wonder, they go to the skies here, get the job done. Wirtz is going to make the catch and make it work. How much is really there in the playbook? There's so many different wrinkles Dutch Fork can use.
Well, they use 3 tight ends in a variety of ways, and that was one of them. After faking it to Green, you get a lot of people's attention there, and they slip the tight end out in the flat for the first down.
Yeah, there for a moment I thought maybe they heard you up here as they faked that pass to Green.
They better listen to Coach.
There he is. He's wide open.
Well,
there.
you were just a play too early. This time they go to Green on Coach's cue, and he's got it down near the red zone at the 20. Now,
flag down.
There is a flag down, so we'll see if this holds.
It's coming back.
It's going to bring it back. But, hey, that doesn't take away the fact that they did go right to your spot in the playbook and use Green out of the backfield.
Well, he's such a great athlete. He's a return guy. He's obviously a great runner, and they use him very smartly in the passing game. And they slipped him out there, and he was open for sure.
Now, one day we got to figure out, Stacey, why you're here and why I'm here. But in moments like that, we know why he's here. We know why he's here.
Absolutely, without a question.
3:04 remaining in the half. This will come back, and they're going to walk this all the way back inside the Dutch Fork 40-yard line. Here's another look at this play, though, because we expect you'll see it again at some point. Break it down, Coach.
They fake a little maybe outside zone and throw back to him swinging out of the backfield. And a lot of times that guy gets kind of caught up in all the mass, and the secondary doesn't see him sneak out. He was certainly open.
And for Jarvis Green to sneak anywhere, because a lot of eyes on the stadium.
Several eyes on 4, aren't there?
Absolutely.
3:04 left to go in this opening half. And that once again faked to Green. This time going up top looking for Jones again. Worked out before, works out again. He's at the 26-yard line. Another toss to Isaiah Jones.
Isaiah Jones moved into the area, and Tom Knox has a system. He's 6'4", got all the intangibles. Look at this catch right here. He caught on as the season went on. He became more of a weapon here, and they take shots at him every now and then. If it doesn't work, they go away from it, but they've hit twice on it now.
Third catch for Jones, 119 yards, and he's got the touchdown. That long, of course, the 68-yarder that you'll remember from a little bit earlier in the game. And if you're keeping up with Appler, he's picked his spots. He is 4 for 4 for 130 yards, his long, that 68er, and the one touchdown. And he comes this side rushing it this time, as Appler has a number of different things in the arsenal and has it down at the 20-yard line. So knocking on the doorstep of the Holy City Heating and Air red zone after this run by the QB.
Yes, and as we said earlier, a lot of times teams have a tendency to run their quarterback more later in the season when everything is on the line and you don't worry quite as much about injuries, and he's certainly an excellent runner.
Holy City Heating and Air, providing solutions for every season, and here they are right there at the Holy City Heating and Air red zone. Ball directly on the 20-yard line for Liam Appler and the Foxes. Gives it to Green. Green outside. And so difficult to wrap up. He still falls forward to about the 13-yard line. That's going to be enough, it would appear, for a Coastal Stone flooring first down.
And going back to Appler as a runner, he's averaged 7.2 5.3 yards a carry and 12 rushing touchdowns this year. So they aren't scared of running, but they probably run him closer to the goal line situations where people are keying on Green.
He's carried the ball 5 times now for 26 yards in this game and did have the rushing touchdown earlier. So he's got a rushing touchdown, passing touchdown to his credit thus far. And he's going to run it again, able to get to the 9-yard line before he is gathered up. Bryce Carpenter was on the pursuit to make the stop there. An open field tackle that saved the touchdown.
We talked about this earlier. A Dutch Fork player did it. There's a flag down, by the way, but
yes,
that was a touchdown saving play and just a great hustle by Carpenter because that play was well called and well executed. Apple, it was just one man, and the one man stood up on defense.
Bryce Carpenter out of that Fort D secondary. The flag is down at the 11-yard line.
It has to be against Fort Dorchester.
Yeah, they're going to walk this off against the Patriots, and that's going to put Dutch Fork on the 4-yard line. Personal foul is the call. With 2:15 to play, Fox is knocking on the door. Well, it's been incremental. Not an explosion of offense for Dutch Fork at any point, but incrementally they put themselves in a position to create some major breathing room if they cap this drive with a TD. Green still on his feet, and he will make it to the end zone. Takes a pretty good lick after that Rush's touchdown at the end of that. But he pops up and is able to move off under his own power, which is a great sign. It's the latest of the rushing touchdowns on the year for Green. And you'll see just how difficult it was to get an angle on Green in the end. He had just crossed the plane when the contact was made. So it pushes it to 25-13, or 25-3, I should say, as this group gets ready to line up for the extra point. See if Welch can punch this one through. Strong leg, and is true. A little extra there, a little helmet rolling around, bodies rolling around, and probably some words, one would think. We don't have a mic right in the middle of it, but you could expect that would be the case on the end of this as it goes to 26-3. And think about this. This a Dutch Fork team now that, I'll go back to that point, Coach, they've kind of incrementally really opened up some breathing room all of a sudden here in the second quarter. It was 6-3 this football game at the end of the first period.
Right, and we forget sometimes Jones, number 17 receivers, made a couple of big plays for him. You know, of course, Green has made his plays throughout the game, but catching the big pass, having big hits, and help them get great field position. They've kind of got Fort Dorchester on the ropes right now.
Let's check in with Natalie.
Yeah, hey guys, I was actually in the Fort Dorchester locker room right before the game, and head coach Steve LaPrade is known for his fire and brimstone, really, speeches before the game, and this one didn't disappoint. They actually weaved a rope across the locker room. Every single player got their hands on the rope, and it symbolizes hope. That's what Steve LaPrade told me. He says everybody is going to need to hold onto that rope no matter what. He says if you fall off a cliff, fall into the water, someone is going to throw you that rope. And this is the time where they're going to need to dig deep to get themselves back into this ball game, guys.
Thanks so much, Natalie. Great insight into what is on the horizon as the Somerville Ford kickoff is in effect. Scoreboard says 25-3, and my math's not the best, but the extra point was ruled as good, and when you do add 7 to 19, I think our score bug gives you a sense of where we sit at 26-3. So if you see the scoreboard on the screen at some point, you would think that would work its way to catch up here.
Unless we miss something.
The other thing that I would go by in alluding to that is the live stats also say 26-3, and the scoreboard just got
Jason
there.
Patterson made it happen.
Now we're caught up. Hey, we're just making sure we keep up with how many points separate these two teams.
Absolutely.
And at 26-3, now everybody is in agreement. The scoreboard, our score bug, and the live stats after the extra point.
We need the help from you, don't we?
Well, I don't know about that.
Jason Patterson's the man.
They've got us muted if they know what's good for them. So I doubt anybody heard anything.
Must have been a math.
At least we now know that our math is not faulty, because many times it is.
Absolutely. That's my ciphering.
1:50 left in the half, and this is going to be touched. Well, there's another moment in which the line of scrimmage has become a factor. Derek McBride, the junior defensive end, he's the player, it would seem, who applied enough pressure to get a hand on this.
That's twice he's tipped passes, I think, right, Stacy?
Yes, I think Hinton got one.
Hinton one got one.
Twice we had a guy from the same spot. Let's put it that way.
Yes, coming off that left edge.
Come in and tip a pass, and it's going to make it a little tougher on Osborne and company here. This is going to be a good hole in the middle, and explosive run for Brown. He gets through all the potential tacklers and into Dutch Fork territory at the 35. They're going to call it the 39-yard line where he actually stepped out of bounds. Okay, this is a gotta-have-it drive, you would think, Coach, for Fort D right now. Patriots need to come away with some kind of points here.
I almost think you have to come away with a touchdown here. You just can't catch up with field goals against Dutch Fork's offense, so it's very important for them.
They get what they need from Brown right there, Stacy.
I saw a defender trying to tackle the ball during that run. You got to get the man on the ground. Good hard run, though.
Well, here he is again. Brown coming through the hole to the 29-yard line. He was close to another Coastal Stone Flooring first down right there. 90 seconds remain in the half. A pivotal drive. It is, in fact, enough for a Coastal Stone Flooring first down. Pivotal drive for Fort D continues as they're knocking on the door of the red zone now. Boy, they're loving the holes that are being made by that offensive line up front, and they keep feeding Davian Brown right now.
And they've got big guys up front. They got, I mentioned earlier, they've got two guys over 300 pounds in their offensive line, so they can create some movement.
That's some of those 25 over 225, right? That they fit that category for sure. Just over a minute to play. Opening half. Well, what a different story 26-10 would be. And to that end, a toss right at the boundary from Osborne, but he couldn't get the right amount on it as he was trying to escape as well, and it's incomplete.
Yeah, you understand they got to go to the passing game. It's been good to them right there, but with under a minute to play, they still have the whole playbook open. They just need to end the half with a touchdown to climb back in this ball game, Jason and Eddie.
224 yards thus far for Fort D, and 92 of those through the air.
Thing to remember, they still got 2 timeouts, so if they do run the ball, they can stop the clock.
The clock not tremendously against them right now due to that. Osborne being pursued, slings this into the cheerleading area down there. Some of the camera people right there to retrieve it. There is a flag at the 33.
Might be a late hit on the quarterback there.
Well, and boy, wouldn't that change the nature of this drive.
Yes.
Clock is stopped with 53 seconds remaining in the second quarter. 5A title game. It was 6-3 at the end of one in favor of Dutch Fork. They have, in this second period, scored 20 unanswered.
So there's going to be a hold. It was something late on it before we threw the ball. It's going to be they're going to call a hold. It looks like it was going to be a hold or a late hit. He were 2 Dutch Fork players in hot pursuit, and some defenders trying to keep them off of the quarterback.
And they end up backing Fort D up here. So moving the wrong direction at the 53-second mark. This Patriots team looking for some type of late second quarter impact.
And it looks like some of the Fort Dorchester's problems are happening on the right side of the line where our starter is out.
So that's a great point.
So it could be some issue there. It might be just Dutch Fork's coming up with a great scheme on that side.
When you've been in communication all season long and you have one of those puzzle pieces removed, it certainly is a game changer. Timeout being called for. Foxes want to talk it over here as they had trips lined up near side, did the Patriots, and with 53 seconds to play, we'll have another timeout. Remind you want to stick around at the break. We will have our halftime report, interviews with the South Carolina High School League participants, as well as stats and highlights, all a part of the South Carolina halftime report of the 5A game. And as we glance back at what has taken place to this point, congratulations in order to a Buford team. Arrived here last year, didn't quite close the deal. They do so in 2022, 41-31 over Powdersville. Abbeville returned to the top of the hill in that 2A classification, and then Christchurch showed plenty of muscle against Johnsonville last night, winning 43-20. A reminder, Northwestern and South Florence, that's an engaging contest that is coming up here in just a bit as you're currently watching the 5A title game between Dutch Fork and Fort D. Busy weekend here in Columbia, and again, 3 champions already crowned.
Yeah, I was blessed to call do play-by-play on that Buford game. Interesting stat in that ball game. Buford didn't attempt one pass.
Not one.
They ran for about 450 and didn't need to throw it.
Sometimes you don't need to, you're right.
Did they leave their receivers at home?
Pretty much.
53. Don't list any on the rosters, right? Maybe for a decoy only. 53 seconds remaining. Osborne backing up. They're going to try to set up a screen, but it is snuffed out. And you called it. Hinton, Jalen Hinton was waiting, and he will turn this aside as the clock rolls under 40 seconds to play in the half.
Hinton's played himself a ball game. Better in the past. Earlier we talked about give him some small college offers. More coming.
How much does a coach love it when they play their assignments that well on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, you know they're listening in the meetings and they've watched their videos and they've practiced and understand what they're supposed to do on those plays.
See his numbers on the year. What a great season it's been for Jalen Hinton. And you said resulting in rewards. Timeout being called for as Fort D will come this side to talk it over with 17 seconds remaining ahead of what's going to be a 4th down and a mile. And, you know, I'll ask you, as we have the luxury of having a long-time legendary head coach from the state in this booth, what would be your approach right here on the 4th down play? Few seconds remaining. You know that that you're in a tough spot on the scoreboard. What's going through your mind right here?
I think you got to get it to your best receiver. And 84, Multi Snyder has been that guy so far tonight. They got to find a way to get him the ball. I'm not sure if you got many 4th and 22 plays in your playbook, but you got to find something now. If not, Dutch Fork can get it near midfield and have a chance for at least 2 plays to score themselves.
Well, true. Dutch Fork has the 1 timeout remaining as well. Fort D just using the timeout here. Stacy, they're going to need the 19-yard line. They're going to have to work their way into that Holy City heating and air red zone. And everybody in the Holy City right now hoping that this group can find a way on one of the final plays of the half.
Good point. Holy City, Charleston, the Chuck down there. And if you're Dutch Fork, you're going to play a little prevent right here. You know, 4th down. You just got to keep people away from the 20-yard line. Let's see what they dial up on offense here.
Zoltan Osborne, of course, lined up at the top is Multi Snyder, if you keep an eye on where he's located, even though they had trips down below. Escaping trouble and then firing this Snyder's direction, but it is contested and it is turned aside, broken up by Tyler Jones, the junior DB, who was there to swat it away, and Dutch Fork has turned Fort Dorchester over on downs. And gentlemen, I'm going to give you a stat here that is one that folks in that Holy City area may want to close their ears on, because it remains 0 for 6 on 3rd down and 0 for 2 on 4th down. This group 0 for 8 when they're trying to convert and keep drives alive right now. That may be one of the great storylines of the ball game.
Yeah, with apologies to all my English teachers, that ain't going to get it done. That's not going to work.
9 seconds remaining, but you know, 1 rush can make the difference for Dutch Fork. This is across the 45, and that'll stop the chains momentarily, stop the clock momentarily while they move the chains, as it is a coastal stone flooring 1st down. And we'll see if the timeout's used here. It looks like it's going to be by Dutch Fork, as they'll go ahead and look for that full stop, not just for the quick pause on the movement of the chains. 3 seconds remaining. This is the time to do it, and you're going to see a shot at the end zone right here, I would think.
I would think they've had success with 17. Jones, I would give him another chance. He's been the hot receiver for them. I'd get it up to him if I possibly could.
We might get to see the arm of Liam Appler right here. How far can he throw it?
Liam Appler, who has done such good work in this first half, just checking in on his numbers. 4 completions on just that many attempts. He's at 130 yards, had the 68-yard connection, which was his long. That was the touchdown toss to Jones. Jones 3 catches, 119 yards. Wirtz has a catch for 11 yards. That's how the 4 passes have been completed. Rest of the work's been done by Green, even though he spent a pretty good chunk of this first half out of commission. He carried the ball 14 times, has 201 yards, and he's got 2 rushing touchdowns alongside Appler's rushing touchdown. So that's a sense of how the work has been done for Dutch Fork.
Green wasn't in the last play where someone else ran the ball, but they may sneak him back in the game now and try to work him in the passing game, because if he gets the ball in open field, he's got a chance to make the big play.
That was Trenton Lodge who carried the football that last time for Dutch Fork, as things were changed up just a bit. But again, the numbers for Green just impressive, and he is there. 14 carries, 201 yards. He's averaging 14.4 per carry with the 2 touchdowns. The 79, of course, yard run is long. Here it is. They go to Green, try to set up a screen for him, see if he can just weave his way to the end zone. But he'll be covered up at the 22-yard line, and that's how the half comes to a close. It was there for the taking, and Dutch Fork tried to see if they could set up a wall, but Fort Dorchester penetrated it and snuffed it out.
Yeah, that was a good play call under the circumstances. A good job by Fort Dorchester to keep the score where it is, and a lot of adjustments for both teams coming up out of halftime. I can't wait to see them.
So what was a 6-3 contest at the end of 1 has Dutch Fork scored 20 unanswered in the second quarter to take a sizable lead into the locker room. And, Coach, it just continues to be a little chippy between these two rivals. We talked about the meetings and how often they had been together in the playoffs along the way. And the coaching staff for Dutch Fork remaining out there, a wall of officials set up between they and those headed to the locker room on the Fort D side.
Extracurriculars after, extracurriculars.
Let's see if anything happened at the end of this play
Coach Knox,
that may be the reason Coach Knotts is a little fired up here. This is where they bring Green to the ground, and that's what happened at the very end of things.
Come on now.
He didn't like that a bit.
Come on now, you can't do that.
So we work our way to the half, and Coach Knotts now standing by with Natalie.
Coach, lots of emotions right here. Just walk us through what happened in these last few seconds.
Well, we threw a little swing to our best player and tried to get Lyman in front of it. He gave great effort and got it down here. And then one of their guys stomped on him as he ran past on the ground. We don't play that kind of football, but evidently they do. That should have been a penalty and us kicking a field goal right now. That's irritating.
A 23-point lead heading into the half. How comfortable are you with that lead, guys?
I'm never comfortable. If I look like a man that's comfortable, I'm never comfortable. I'm not comfortable at all, till it's over. So we're going to go in here and make a couple adjustments and keep playing.
Your team's playing complimentary football, stopping Fort D multiple times on fourth down. How happy are you with how they're playing?
Yeah, you win championships with goal line stands, fourth down plays, third and short plays. So if they're going to keep going for it, my hat's off to them, keep going for them. But Dutch Fork makes a lot of big plays when people go for things on fourth down, and then we get the ball back. So if they go for it, they better get it.
Appreciate it, Coach. Good luck.
He may wear the shorts regardless of the weather and regardless of the circumstances, but despite the shorts at all times, he is never comfortable. You heard it right out of his mouth. He also left no question as to what he was a little frustrated with toward the end of the half. Yeah. Has to be pleased with what's on the scoreboard, though. He and Silver Fox's fans owning a 26-3 advantage at the break. We'll be back with a whole lot more of our broadcast brought to you by A&I Fire and Water Restoration. The halftime report coming up on the other side of the break.
Hey, conductor, how about something new? You played this last year.
Come on, get your head out of your sacks.
Shh, we're trying to hear.
Well, I'm sick and tired of hearing your kid play the wrong notes. Where's my kid solo?
At least you can see your kid. Why is my kid stuck way in the back?
The conductor only plays his favorite.
I get her, not solo.
You see my kid?
at 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Nelson Weston. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to the high school state championship football games right here on Friday Night Rivals. Who better to join us than our good friend all the way from Ingles Markets? Y'all know her, the famous Melissa Level. Melissa, how's it going, my friend?
So good to see you.
Always a pleasure to see you.
Happy football, happy championship weekend.
Happy football, happy championship weekend indeed. Melissa, it does raise the question, though. You guys have had a long-standing and proud sponsorship and support of the community for a long time now.
Right.
Why is this important to y'all?
Well, Ingles is a corporation, but all of our stores are in the hearts of our communities.
Indeed.
So we are the beacon of those communities. So we support everyone in our stores, our customers, our schools, our first responders, our businesses. We are part of a community, not part of a big corporation. So this is just a very natural way for us to go in. And believe it or not, a lot of the people that play in these games work in our stores.
Oh, yeah, that's super indeed.
Right?
Now, from what I gather, y'all have a terrific Tools for Schools program. For those who are unfamiliar, what exactly is that program? But more importantly, how can the good folks at home get involved and support it?
It's very simple to get involved with it. You have an Ingles Advantage card. You go online and register that card to the school of your choice. Every time you shop at Ingles, not only are you earning fuel points, but you're also earning points for your school that goes directly into the teacher's hands. And this works into the classrooms. It's not just athletics, it's mathematics and science and social studies. It provides supplies for the teachers, it supplies food and security elements, supplies continuing education opportunities. It is a true educational program.
That is outstanding. Melissa, all this talk about football and state championships, I don't know about you, but I'm getting so hungry right about now.
Yeah.
If I wanted to make a pit stop to, say, Ingles, for example, on my way to one of the games, what are some of the most popular, delicious, and of course, mouth-watering items on the menu I can pick up?
I'm going to tell you, let's go to the wing bar. Okay, that's the absolute, okay, that's where we're going to start right there. Then we're going to stop and get a boar's head sub, and then on our way out in the car, we're going to grab a big bucket of fried chicken. Now we are good?
That is magnificent work.
Thank
Melissa,
you.
on behalf of WLOS and, of course, on behalf of the entire community, thank you so much for y'all's proud and resounding sponsorship.
We love our partnership with you, too.
We cannot do this without y'all. Again, Tom Brady might be the GOAT of football, but I tell you something right now, Ingles is undeniably the GOAT when it comes to proud community sponsorships. I'm ready for some more football.
I'm ready too.
We know y'all are ready for some more football, so without further ado, let's get ready for football!
Come on, Paige, we're almost done.
Christmas, the season of giving.
They're gonna love these.
At Ingles, we know that nothing brings a family together quite like the holidays. And nothing brings a smile to our faces quite like sharing that perfect gift. This Christmas, let's give what's in our hearts, thoughtfully and cheerfully. Merry Christmas from Ingles. All the ingredients for family.
What rhymes with great?
Participate.
Where does greatness start? Here, in the classroom. On the stage.
In the pool.
On the field.
Where will your greatness take you?
To better grades.
To more friends.
Yeah! Be great.
Participate!
The innocence of youth. Is there anything any better? But soon they'll be in high school and facing all the same challenges you faced. How to make friends, how to fit in, how to be cool. We want our children to have everything they'll need to live fulfilling and productive lives. Make sure the kids in your family are among the more than 12 million participants in America who take part in high school sports or activities.
South Carolina High School League. Charlie Wensky. Charlie, you're a busy guy. It has been an exciting weekend, of course, with the culmination of football in the fall sports season. How has everything gone from your perspective this year?
It's been a fabulous weekend so far and a fabulous year for us. And, you know, we've been blessed that we've had very little turmoil and very little issues. So we're very blessed and very fortunate to be ending it with a great weekend like this.
All right, and I know one thing that is always on your plate is officials, and it takes so many people to make sure games like this and all year long they take place, and they take place to the best ability that they can. How are officials and how is that kind of job going for you right now in making sure every game is fully staffed?
Right now it's easy because as the year's gone, as the playoffs go, we get less and less games, so we need less and less people, so that becomes even easier. But, you know, the truth is we're still kind of where we've been. We're still glass half full. I'm refused to say that we're empty because we're full. We're half full there. We're still building our young officials, and we've got some veterans who 3 or 4 weeks ago were not coming back. Now they're coming back. So we're looking okay, and hopefully we can get some more people that are interested in becoming an official and help grow our profession in the state.
And it's not just football, it's really every sport. How can people get involved if they want to do something like this?
Well, it's simply if they're interested in being an official and they want to be involved, all they need to do is call our office, and they can ask for me or they can ask for any one of our commissioners in charge of the sport, and we'll help them get in touch with the right person to help them get started.
All right, thank you so much, Charlie. Always working so hard. We appreciate it. We have so much more football to get to today. Second half action just a few minutes away. We'll see you right back here. Don't go anywhere.
This is going to be so good.
High school sports fans, relive your favorite moments. Just click the shopping cart below the video player to get your digital copy today.
Hey, conductor, how about something new? You played this last year.
Come on, get your head out of your sacks.
We're trying to hear.
Well, I'm sick and tired of hearing your kid play the wrong notes. Where's my kid solo?
At least you can see your kid. Why is my kid stuck way in the back?
The conductor only plays his favorites.
My kid heard that solo!
You see if I did it?
Yeah!
Come on!
Tobacco Quit Line at 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
Dutch Fork outscoring Fort D by 20 in the second quarter. That's created the separation in this football game, which now sits at 26-3 at the break. Time for our sound and images, highlights and stats. Sound and Images, your go-to provider for commercial audiovisual solutions in South Carolina. Find out how they can help your business or organization by visiting soundandimages.net today. Here's some of the images from that first half, Coach. And defenses were dominant early.
They were. Both teams were ready to play. Felt like they had a good scope on the other opponent. And then the offense kind of woke up, particularly for Dutch Fork.
And that was Snyder who woke up on that side of things for Fort D as well. Had a couple of long catches. This was the play where we saw Green depart. He fumbled the football, but he came back, and when he came back, boy, did he do so with a lot of spunk.
He certainly did. Had a tremendous run here. inside the 5-yard line, gave him a chance of easy score.
Appler capped that drive with this run, which resulted in the touchdown. He is on the ground in addition to the one through the air. This was the wrinkle, though, that they showed. You saw this in practice. It was executed well to Isaiah Jones.
It was. Anytime you get the ball in Green's hand early, it attracts a lot of people, and then you pitch it back to the quarterback. It certainly creates a big play for him when you throw a reverse pass.
Green had no trouble closing this drive late in the half, and again, it all adds up to 26-3. Stacey, there are a couple of numbers that really jump out at you here.
Yeah, one of those, that 0, that offer at the bottom right down there for Dorchester, they must reverse that if they're going to mount a comeback in this ball game. 404 total yards for Dutch Fork, most of them on the ground, and Travis Green, the Mr. Football candidate, has 201 yards in the first half.
Now, some of the individual numbers we'll get into in a bit. His are among the best. When you think of this, also 3 fourth downs on which Fort Dorchester has not converted. So it's 0 for 9 toward the end of those drives. If they can reverse that, could become a different football game. But Dutch Fork in command right now at a count of 26-3. Once more time, those are your sound and images first half stats, as well as the sound and images highlights from the first half. We are waiting the thoughts of the Fort D coaching staff, and Natalie now has that. Natalie, take it away.
Coach, some big plays from you guys offensively. You just haven't been able to capitalize. 0-6 right now on third down conversions. What needs to change offensively to punch some points in the end zone?
I mean, Natalie, we got to make those first downs. You know, we missed a couple like that. We hadn't had a daggone break. They big played us. They had 3 big plays. I mean, it was 9-3 ball game going in the second quarter. You know, we kind of let it get away from us. We know we got to score 4 times this half. We're going to kind of see what we made of, to be honest with you.
I know you're always a guy that focuses on this team, doesn't really worry about what the other team is doing, but what is Dutch Fork doing right now that's challenging for you guys?
They big play. They're a good ball club, but they big playing us. You know, they stopped us, 2 or 3 times. We just made a first down. I thought it would be in a ball game. Right now they're whipping our butts. We gotta see what I'm gonna see what I got this second half. We got to come out. We get the ball first, so hopefully we put some points on the scoreboard. We got to tackle better.
This team's dealt with adversity all season long. Why is this the group to really turn the tables here in the second half?
Well, I mean, they have. They've dealt with it. I wasn't real proud of them there at halftime. I kind of got on them. It looked like they, I know they're down and all. That's not how they wanted it, but it is what it is. We got to accept how things are now, and nobody's going to change it for us. Either we're going to change it, or it's either going to get better or it's going to get worse, because they're not going to give up. So hopefully we can get after the second half. We got to do a better job. We got a better football team than this.
Good luck, Coach. Thank you so much.
He wants his team to show the solid nature of play they have used to get here all season long. Half of football left. You could hear it in his voice. He knows the simple things his team has to do to crawl back in this ballgame. Simple, not easy, right? But it is simple what's laid out in front of them. 26-3 is the lead for Dutch Fork. We'll come back with the third quarter, second half right around the corner, and our broadcast presented by A&I Fire and Water Restoration of the 5A title game continues after this.
To several months.
And as far as which players are more likely to have a head injury, what kind of signs can we look for there?
Well, high school athletes are the ones that are at most risk for suffering concussions, particularly those that play football, but also soccer, lacrosse, and basketball.
And when you look at the next step, where can these kids be evaluated when they do have a head injury?
Well, for mild concussions, urgent care like doctor's care is a good place to start. It's important that these kids be seen, get evaluated, treated, and started on the proper protocol for return to school and return to sports.
And lastly, but most importantly, will the child be okay after they have suffered a concussion?
Yes, most kids recover without any long-term effect. But like I said, it's important to diagnose them and get them on the right path to recovery so there are no long-term effects from the concussion.
Great to hear. All right, thank you so much, Dr. Jansen, for your time and for joining us here.
Thanks, Amanda.
What rhymes with great?
Participate.
Where does greatness start? Here, in the classroom. On the stage.
In the pool.
On the field.
Where will your greatness take you?
To better grades.
To more friends.
Yeah! Be great.
Participate!
State title game. As Dutch Fork has the lead at the intermission by a count of 26-3. Getting set for the start of the third quarter. Coach, let's go right into halftime adjustments here. What do you see these teams needing to do for Dutch Fork to close it out for their latest state title, and for Fort D to find a way to claw back into this, make it interesting down the stretch?
I think this first drive for Fort Dorchester is critical. They're at the point now where they just can't punt much the rest of the game. They've got to move the ball. They've got to at least get it to midfield and take their chances. They got to be aggressive on offense. They just can't sit there and say we're going to run the ball and catch up in the game.
Those third and fourth down conversions are going to be critical. It's something we've talked about regularly, but that's because it is the storyline. Here's the Summerville Ford kickoff. You'll pay too much if it's not Summerville Ford, and it's going to be a short kick, fielded on a hop, and a return up across the 42. All right, Stacy, individuals, nobody bigger thus far than Green. 14 carries, 201 yards, a couple of touchdowns. He had that long run of 79, and he's averaging 14.4 per carry. His performance is well documented, but who else has impressed you so far in this state championship game?
Jalen Hinton, 41 for Dutch Fork, has played well also on the defense for Dutch Fork. Of course, Liam Appler has a couple of big money throws. And for Dorchester, Multi Snyder has come up very big. He'll have to be big in the second half, as well as Osborne playing well at quarterback.
3 catches for 92 yards, 49 the long for Snyder, but again, no touchdowns yet for Fort D, just the 3 points on the board. Try to change that here, go his direction, but this is incomplete. These two teams played for the lower state championship a year ago. They play today in a state championship environment. We saw a lot of discussion. You know, you think about all the playoff meetings, and even though all the playoff meetings have gone Dutch Fork's direction, Fort D did have that win at their place, right? That comes to mind. So there's a great deal of energy and conversation and communication between these two teams, because it is, in the truest sense, one of the great emerging rivalries in South Carolina. You heard that from both coaches as well as what you've seen from these players. And this is a powerful run. I mean, just a willing of the football forward off the grasp of Zion Reynolds, who carries that forward.
It looks like they haven't, given up on their running game. They've run the ball so well this year, but you got to have a good mixture here in the second half.
Coach, I know there were teams along the way, and by the way, first down there, movement of the chains. That's a Will Lou Gray opportunity to score first down. They're hoping to put together a few more of those. Fort D, this is going to be another rush outside, big gap, down the near side, and able to take it to the house for the first score of the day for Fort Dorchester is Ryan Campbell. They turn to the freshman running back when all is said and done to take it down the near side, and that's just what the doctor ordered for the Patriots.
That's how you respond out of the locker room. He did all that without his shoe. He lost his shoe about midfield. We'll see it on the replay right here. You see, like here on your screen. He did that. He has no shoe on his left foot right there. He did it with one shoe on, one shoe off. An ankle tackle missed, and he kicked out. Great way to respond. That's a lot of heart shown by Fort Dorchester.
Flat tire of no effect for Ryan Campbell, right? As he worked his way on into the end zone and has Fort D rolling. Here comes the extra point at the 11:24 mark. Fort D out of the locker room with an exclamation point, Coach.
He was a young man that Coach Pratt told me on Thursday that he was the one to watch. He's a young 9th grader, but he could be a kid that could break all the rushing records there.
The freshman provides the lift, and it is now a 26-10 separation between Dutch Fork and Fort D. Back with more of our broadcast presented by A&I Fire and Water Restoration. Right after this, what a start to the second half for the Patriots out of the Low Country.
I go by
the innocence of youth. Is there anything any better? But soon they'll be in high school and facing all the same challenges you faced. How to make friends, how to fit in, how to be cool. We want our children to have everything they'll need to live fulfilling and productive lives. Make sure the kids in your family are among the more than 12 million participants in America who take part in high school sports or activities.
Campbell is the future of this program. You just received a snapshot of the future as he put together a 49-yard run that results in the first touchdown of the state championship environment. Break this play down for us, Coach.
Well, it looked like a simple outside zone play, and something came off. I'm not sure if he still got that shoe on, but something came off his ankle. Maybe it was a wrap or something.
It was a shoe. That's a sock right under.
He's losing the weights. He's losing the weights and making sure he can run freely, right?
He like Forrest Gump running through the braces, running the braces away.
11:24 left to go, and here they are in this position. Coach, you talked about some of the coverage adjustments we saw there as well.
Yes, Dutch Fork's kind of rolling up the coverage, trying to have an underneath corner and then a safety playing over the top to try to take away the big play.
See how that factors. That came up, hit the face mask in play. Now it's going to end up being a touchback is the way they'll rule this when all is said and done. But that looked like it hit the turf, bounced up, hit the helmet, face mask area, and then worked its way into the end zone after that, it seemed.
Yes.
But for high school, when the ball deflects off it is a touchback once it crosses the goal line.
Yes.
So the player almost got a little bit nervous thinking he had to run it out, but the official blew it dead anyway.
Other levels, that could have been somewhat disastrous potentially. We'll see. But you said it. Touchback, no harm done. And here comes Dutch Fork for the first time in the second half. A Fox's team that, again, to document it for you, outscored Fort D 20-0 in the second quarter, which right now stands as the real difference in this football game. Here's Appler. Appler, who had a 5-for-5 first half. He'll run it this time to the left side. Here are his numbers: 5 for 5, 151 yards, a touchdown through the air, including the 68-yard connection. And then on the ground, he carried the ball 6 times for 32 yards, averaging 5.5 himself, had a touchdown on the ground. We gave you Green's numbers, and he has the other 2 rushing touchdowns for Dutch Fork. So that's how things broke down individually after that first half. Do you expect to see anything different offensively from Dutch Fork here in the second half?
Right now, Green's at quarterback.
Yep, here it
Appler
is.
came out.
And they turn, give off, but that is read beautifully, having none of it here. And as Fort Dorchester will get just what they had hoped for from Daryl DePass, who the senior steps up, makes a great play right here.
Great job that time. He saw the whole way. Great job as a defender and made a sure tackle for the huge loss in Dutch Fork, way behind the sticks on third down.
Let's credit the junior Marcus Moon instead. Marcus Moon there, the junior, who actually made the stop. DePass arrived on the scene, provided the congratulations when all was said and done. But a great play by Marcus Moon, the junior DB at 5'11", 191. He's quite a specimen. Here's the 10-13 mark as they swing a pass out to Green. Green beyond the sticks. He's got a first down. That's a Will Lou Gray Opportunity School first down. And in a 3rd and long scenario there, Fort D couldn't quite get off the field.
And they find a way to get it to Green. That time it was a screen play, and the lineman did a great job of getting out front.
See the initial block there, which was huge, and a couple of yards beyond the sticks for the Will Lou Gray Opportunity School first down. Will Lou Gray, rich tradition of individualized learning. He's put together a tradition of his own in this state championship game. Has Green. They'll hand it to him again. He's good for a couple on first down. You just get the sense after what the offense did to provide the lift, Stacy, out of the locker room a moment ago, it falls upon the shoulders of this Fort D defense to come up with a key stop at some point on this drive.
Yeah, and we talked about inefficiency on third down on offense. That third down, allowing Green to get that third down was huge because the momentum now kind of shifting back. They had a lot of things coming their way, but they got to get Dutch Fork off this football field.
Had him in a 3rd and long, just didn't work out thanks to the screen pass Green's direction. Appler going to be rushed out near side. He gets to the 40 and is met just across the 40 at the 42. That's near the marker, but there were other things available there, it seems.
This is a play they worked on hard. They thought they could get the safety to get caught overlapping Green when they sent him in short motion, and they hit 85 down the middle of the field, but the safety stayed at home that time. They thought Fort Dorchester would overreact to Green with his short motion.
That's one of those plays you were waiting on today when you look back at what you saw from them in the 2 practices you visited for these teams. Well handled by Fort D. 3rd down, though, and 1. Dutch Fork 2 of 3 on 3rd down, and brought down is Green. Boy, able to reach out, get enough of the ball carrier, and bring him to the ground. Take a look at this pursuit, as well as the job that was done to finish things right here by DeAndre Jones, one of the big men up front. Watch his pursuit.
just violent tackle that time with his hand, just snatched him down by the pad. That's a grown man tackle, and the 4 Dorchester fans right beneath us, they're in full throat right now, feeling it.
And DeAndre Jones is a Shrine Bowl pick, so they know something about him anyway.
He will be performing in the Shrine Bowl here in this 2022 campaign. A well-deserved honor for DeAndre Jones. That may be one of those moments you circle, look back at it, forces Dutch Fork to punt it here, and a flag comes in as contact is made with the kicker. The last thing Fort D wanted to see after coming away with the stop, and you know, 4th down and 4, either of the penalties now are going to be enough to move the chains and continue the drive for Dutch Fork.
Sometimes as a coach you say, don't try to be too aggressive when you're going to get the ball back like that, and that young man was going hard for the ball, but
both coaches at times displeased with a couple of different flags they've seen, and Coach LaPratte out there on the field, he is not happy at all with the flag being thrown, and you see our officials getting together. And he's all the way out there at the 30. He's going to join the huddle, it would seem.
A lot of conversation right now, a lot of conversation among the officials right there. Either it was a roughing or
well, whether it's the 5-yard variety or the other variety, it's 4th down and 4. That's going to be a first down, and it will snuff out the great work done.
Roughing the kicker against the defense.
By the defense, and there's a look at it. It is a first down.
I'm guessing what Coach Pratt's arguing is maybe he thought he was blocked into the kicker, that maybe the blocker forced him that way. Again, when you're getting the ball back, you can't take those chances.
Understanding what a pivotal moment this is in the football game, he is beside himself. Still out there, as you can see, bottom left portion of your screen, talking things over with the officials, and he is inconsolable right now with the way things went.
And
now a flag's going to be thrown his direction. Yeah. He's not going to like the result of this one either.
He got more than his money's worth on that conversation right there. And we hear in our ear that maybe he thought there were 12 men on the field.
That's what's coming from the truck right now, that there was some discussion on the sideline of whether Dutch Fork had too many on the field, which is what he was saying there.
Can we see the replay, perhaps? We'll try to count them.
Well, let's see. We got guys counting in the truck, and they got better math than we do. You know, we talked about how difficult our math can be earlier.
But
so
we've already found out you were a math major.
Here, look right here. We can't. That next shot there looks like 11, but we can't see everyone. Maybe somebody out wide, that would be 12.
That shot,
looks like it's 11 there. But
at any rate, you know that the timing of the penalty on the roughing call is just somewhat, at least at this moment, a lot of football left, but somewhat devastating to Fort D after they came away with the stop. And instead, the Dutch Fork drive continues, and tripped up just inside the 30-yard line, the ball carrier here. But what a change as Green is stopped. What a change in momentum right there in that moment, Coach.
Yes, because it felt like Fort Dorchester was getting back into the game, and they would have got the ball perhaps near their own 30 or 40-yard line.
If they go down and score, you're looking at a 26-17 ball game versus what you're seeing right now, perhaps 18 with the separation being 16 if they had decided to go for 2. But as it stands, Silver Foxes on the move. And here's Green again. Green this time finds some room outside. Not much of it, though. Just a couple of yards and a strong open field tackle. We tried to call Daryl DePaz's name a moment ago. We get to do so this time. He ends up making the stop.
Way to come up and make a stick that time. And this Fort D defense has done a better job of keying on Green. I said that would be one of the things they had to get done in the second half. And thus far, they bottled him up fairly well. And before he gets going out of the backfield.
So a 3rd down again. And again, we've seen a little bit of the kicking woes in the extra point game at times today. So you know what is there for the taking on the Dutch Fork side of things on 3rd down. Green, one more time, and he lunges forward. With the second effort, he made that close. He's still going to be about a yard shy, it seems, but it looked like he was going to be 3 or 4 yards shy before he lunged forward to make it close on 4th down.
That certainly gives them in a better position to make the 4th down play here. Everybody probably thought they were going to try to throw a little bubble screen or something this way, and they just ran the ball straight ahead.
That's certainly what they showed you, didn't they, Stacy?
Yeah, it was a muscle-up situation here. They always have the extra tight end in anyway. They followed him into the hole that time. It was strength on strength. Let's see if they do the same thing right here on 4th down.
Here comes a 4th down and a long one. Need to get across the 20-yard line to pick up the first. Ross moves. It's not Green. Calling his own number is Appler, and Appler's going to get there. wrestled down at the 13, but it's Liam Appler who is able to secure the first down and move the chains with the Will Lou Gray Opportunity School first down.
Got a little limp, looked happy there.
It looked like on the tackle he kind of favored a leg, so I don't know if she got something pinned under him, but he came up limping a little bit.
His left leg, even before he went out of bounds.
See it at the end of this.
His left leg, as he went out of bounds, like he had a little hitch in his giddy up.
Not able to see the very end of that, but certainly worth keeping an eye on. Green was banged up earlier. Appler, you're keeping an eye on here now. It's a fresh set of downs for Dutch Fork inside the Holy City Heating and Air red zone. Screen set up this time, and he sees a seam as Jarvis Green takes it in for the touchdown. Well, you saw him rush for a pair of touchdowns earlier. Here, Jarvis Green becomes a target out of the backfield through the air, and they get the job done with a touchdown. And boy, you go back to the penalty on the roughing the punter a bit earlier, change the complexion of the game. Instead of being at, you know, as we talked about it, an 8-point separation or whatever it might have been when all was said and done, Dutch Fork instead has stretched out the advantage as they cap the drive with the screenplay to Jarvis Green. Extra point is true, and the lead grows for Dutch Fork with 6:13 to play in the third quarter. Back with more of the 5A state championship game. Our broadcast presented by A&I Fire and Water Restoration when you reach Columbia.
High school sports fans, relive your favorite moments. Just click the shopping cart below the video player to get your digital copy today.
That coming up here in just a bit, we're going to have a shot at the defensive player of the game. Number of candidates for that already. Old Charleston Painting Company, defensive player of the game. Old Charleston Painting Company, like paint, they have you covered. And you can check them out today. There to meet all your painting needs. And a number of candidates for that one as well. We saw some great plays already on his side of things, the Fort D side of things. Jalen White's been a big contributor today. We've called Carpenter's name from time to time. Daryl DePass, who made a tremendous play just a moment ago. And Marcus Moon, whose name we called in a big moment. Then you think over on the Dutch Fork side of things. Well, Hinton has been just what you would expect him to be today, and so many of the surrounding cast members on that side of the ball as well. But Dutch Fork's offense just adding another score, and now the Somerville Ford kickoff will see very minimal return. And let's break down this drive. What's your mindset as you come into this drive if you're Fort D, Coach? You have to shake off what happened in that last sequence.
They do, and they've got to be poised here. They don't have to get every touchdown on every play now, but again, they got to be pretty aggressive with their offense. If they've saved things, they better use them right now.
Good point, Coach.
6:06 remaining in the third quarter, and finding themselves down 23. They have number 22 in that backfield, Zion Reynolds. Gonna run it this way, stacked up after he gets across the 25. He'll stop his progress just shy of the 27-yard line. Well, you saw in that last sequence as well, a little more conversation between the coaches, staff, and the players. You've been in some rivalry games over the years. How difficult is it to channel that emotion, keep the focus on what's happening between the white lines?
You've got to be focused. If not, you're going to have foolish penalties against your team, could hurt you in a critical situation in the game. Everybody's got to keep it poised, and it starts with the head coach on down.
Well, they went for broke there on on the defensive side of the ball. That was a moment in which the thought had to at least be there in Bett's mind that he could come away with the interception. But enough zip on it from Osborne, you can move the chains. That's a Will Lou Gray Opportunity School first down for Fort D. A lot of football left here between these two, but Fort D needing some type of response offensively. Keep it on the ground up near the 40-yard line. I go back to what Coach Knotts told us on the field prior to the game, and he said, you know, you used the word focus a moment ago. He said, this is as focused a group as I remember. He said, I was as low in football as I ever remember being when we walked off the field after dropping that state championship game to Gaffney a year ago. I came back here, told our guys just a few moments ago before I talked to the two of you, he said that we don't want to have that feeling again. We want a very different feeling when we walk off the field this time. And they're working toward that direction with a 33-10 lead right now. Does Fort D have a response? Not going to be much there on this play. And another third down. A third down and 5 is coming. And Stacy, the numbers are still at 0 for 6 and 0 for 3 on 3rd and 4th down for Fort D right now.
Yes, so you need your Sunday best play right here because of that 0 for you talked about and because of the clock with 4:23. So injured player. Timeout looks like a player down for Dutch Fork, but you got to come with your Sunday best play right here because the game may very well be in the balance. The clock is not a problem now, but with every tick of the clock does become a problem as you head to the 4th quarter.
Yeah, we got a player at the end of that, Jalen Cook, as he is now seated, and it doesn't look to be anything serious. We certainly hope that's the case. Gives us a chance to check in with Natalie for a little more on the drive for Dutch Fork coming into this particular championship Saturday. Natalie?
Yeah, Jason, you touched on the focus of this team, but I want to go back and look at that tough schedule they faced during the early part of their season. They won their first 3 games by an average of less than 3 points. But if you look at the playoff run in the last 3 weeks, they had won each of their games by an average of 29.6 points. Now, not only is this a focused bunch, but Coach Knott said it, they are peaking at the right time, and you can, by the look of that scoreboard, that is exactly what they are doing today.
Berg on a field goal earlier in the year, ended up with that lone loss, which you talked about, to one of the nationally ranked powers out of Maryland in St. Francis. But when it has mattered most, they have found a way to find another gear.
They absolutely have, and the talk began to go around the state, is Dutch Fork the same? Did Gaffney break them a little bit? And then the St. Francis game, people got louder. And I was still thinking, you know, Dutch Fork tends to figure it out. And here they are right now. They put it back together.
3rd down opportunity in front of Fort D one more time. Handed off left side. Too many Foxes waiting. They tried to go back the direction of Ryan Campbell, the freshman back, but this time they were waiting for him.
That's the play they scored on earlier, I think, Coach.
Yeah, and I think he felt he could bounce it outside, but you got to remember those other guys on defense are pretty quick too.
Yes.
Yeah, and one of those pretty quick and immediately on the scene was who else but Chandler Perry, who's been right in the thick of everything all night long. 4th down, and going for it on 4th down with the knowledge that something's got to give offensively right now, the Patriots of Fort D.
Got one-on-one at the top, so they may throw it there.
0 for 3 on 4th down thus far, and that is in and out of the hands of the Dutch Fork secondary, but more importantly, that was 4th down, and it is a turnover on downs as Dutch Fork holds one more time.
Right now, it's so important for Fort Dorchester to make a stop. If they can't get a stop here, it's going to be very, very tough for them to come back in this football game.
Tried to go Bellum's direction there, Stacy. They were looking to connect with Bellum, but just a little too tall. That pass from Osborne, his direction.
Yeah, we talked about the bracketed coverage. That had to be a perfect throw. It was a good throw, but it wasn't perfect. A little bit high and almost got picked. Not intercepting that ball, actually gained Dutch Fork about 10 yards of real estate because he caught it right there. They'd have been about the 40-yard line. Instead, they get it at the 41 of Fort Dorchester.
Dutch Fork looking to close the deal. Remember, they had an advantage. They had a lead on the scoreboard at this stage of the game a year ago. Saw the opponent from the upper state a season ago come powering back. It was Dutch Fork representing the upper state this year against the lower state champions Fort D. And you hear the penalty being assessed as this will back them up about 5 yards. But the focus on, as Natalie told you a moment ago, closing the deal. This team's so battle-tested from the early parts of the year. Can they take this final 3:15 of the 3rd quarter for a spin? 1st down and 15. They'll need the 31, will the Foxes. Appler Still a perfect 7 for 7 when he goes to the air, but he's done this more often than not. Turn and hand to Green, and Green bounces off tackles. There is a flag, but he's down the far side for what would be a Dutch Fork touchdown.
Coming back.
And he's going to keep on running up the hill. He's headed for the hedges. A flag at the end of this, too. So there's a flag down at the 44-yard line. And then at the end of things as well, Coach.
More than likely a holding call here, looking at reaction from Dutch Fork sideline, but a late hit, unnecessary hit deep in the end zone here for an unsportsmanlike call against Fort Dorchester.
Pushed him on up the hill. That's the reason he kind of took it to the top.
They didn't call the second one, did they? But they did. It's going to be great.
It's down in the corner.
Officials are sorting out this flag that's back at the 44-yard line right now. And then headed into that end zone designated Tigers as they try to sort that out. Your thoughts here?
I don't know if they're going to offset or not. If they consider both live ball penalties, they would offset. But this could be a dead ball because he was out of the back of the end zone when he got pushed. So.
And Fort D very concerned right now about the fact that the clock just keeps on running. They finally got it stopped at 2:13, but you saw their coaching staff about 5 yards deep out of the field saying, whatever you're going to do here, please stop the clock for us. We need all the time we can get right now.
Right, so you'll see the officials huddling about that as well.
And if I was Coach Pratt, I'd get off the field because the second penalty, you're out of the stadium.
Yeah, already one thrown that direction. You talked about the tight leash in your day that existed as well. You weren't able to get quite as close to the officials as what we've seen here today.
No, you couldn't. And I used to remind our coaches and players, I said, the officials are going to be right more than we are. We're going to make more bad calls on offense and defense than they are in the game. They're human. We just got to play through it and be poised.
Give them the benefit of the doubt. And let's say this about our officials as they continue to sort this out. It's an honor for these officials to be a part of these state championship games as well. They're graded all year. They're given marks by their peers and otherwise.
Holding.
Congratulations
Offense.
as you hear the holding
Dead
call.
ball, personal foul on the defense. Both will be enforced. Will remain first down.
So you hear that they're going to enforce both penalties. But just finishing that up, kudos to those who've been selected to be a part of this crew for the 5A title game. Congratulations on a well-deserved honor. Here's a look at the run by Green, and you'll see what happens at the very end of it, and it'll be enforced also.
There's no need for that. Frustration a little bit right there, but a holding penalty negates a very well blocked otherwise, and another big one for Green. His numbers are getting really out of control.
Yeah, when you think about the 2 touchdowns that were not,
right.
though the one you just looked at here based upon the holding penalties. It's going to all sort out to a first down from the 39-yard line. Dutch Fork really in position now to create some major breathing room in the latter stages of the third quarter. And that's handled beautifully. How about the pursuit right up the middle as the stop is made by Connor Morgan, a senior linebacker in there to snuff it out.
5'9", 184. He knifed through there and did a great job with a short tackle. That was Lodge in for Green, and just an outstanding defensive play for Fort Dorchester.
Lodge has carried the ball on 3 occasions in this contest, has about 20 yards of his own, alongside the 215 of Green and the 50 that Appler has rolled up. Appler going to move Wirtz in motion, then hands to Green again that direction. They block it nicely to get about 4 yards or so. And now the extracurricular is on one more time, and a lot of shoving happening here. Flags will fly in from everywhere as the field is littered with yellow.
It was too much going on after that tackle right there. It's looking personal, and that was after, and they had him stood up. And there was a lot of shots being taken in there, and Green's helmet was yanked off.
This may take a moment or two to sort out here, Coach.
Well, there's 4 flags on the field over there, so I think every official had a shot at it. And it's not going to be good, and it's tough when you're in the state championship game. You got to keep your poise, though. No matter what the score, you got to play under control.
Everything you worked for all season long on the line here. So many moments that are reminders of the blood, sweat, and tears that have been put in to get to this point. And then, oh, by the way, you're playing a rival that you collided with in the semifinals a year ago and so often in the playoffs, and it can bubble over. It has done so here. And our officials getting back together as
Coach Pratt in the huddle with the officials, so Coach Knox wants to come out and get something too.
He's going to be there also, it would seem. And we got the
what's fair for one should be fair to both. Let both of them get in the huddle and hear what the officials say.
We've got the line of officials separating the 2 head coaches and their respective teams right now, and they find some sacred space up near the top of that Tigers logo away from both coaches and both teams. This has been too familiar a refrain across the last few minutes.
And unfortunately, we heard when we went out there pre-game, there was some chippiness going on, and you don't want to hear that. You want your players to determine who's going to win the game by what they're doing on the field, not by what they're saying.
You know, the coaches were intense before the game, and the players feed off that. The players need no more motivation. It's for the championship. And, you know, it's the last game of the season. Seniors, their last game ever for some of them. So the emotions are already going to be there, but sportsmanship has to be at the forefront of this ballgame.
And when these two play, they play it like a championship, even if it's not this environment, right, Stacey?
No matter when they see each other.
You put them together, and you put the 5A title trophy out there in front of them, and it's a recipe for much of what we're seeing.
It escalates right there. There's Coach Knotts and Coach LaPrade meeting face-to-face right there with the officials, and they're going to probably tell them to calm their players down.
Yeah, this is a meeting to take the reins right now of the football game by our officiating crew, because it has been too often, I'm sure, in their mind, Coach, of late, that they've been throwing flags for extracurricular activities.
And I can remember what used to be in our high school league handbook, no champion is crowned unless you play like a champion. And I think both of these teams want to play like champions today.
And we thought that it may take a little while for some of this to be sorted out. It ends with a meeting of the minds, as both head coaches are about as close as you're ever going to see them in the middle of game action, right? But either pregame or postgame, you often are treated to these type of shots with the head coaches there together. But this video shot coming in the later stages of the third quarter, and looked like we were going to get some type of explanation. Not just yet.
It's going to be a long explanation.
Now here it comes. Let's listen in.
Personal foul against the defense. Dead ball, personal foul against the offense. Players disqualified. Dead ball, personal foul against the defense. That player also disqualified. Down.
So he didn't tell us which players, but you get a pretty good sense of what's happening maybe right there on the bench with DeAndre Jones. We're going to give you a recap of everything that happened at the end of this play here. What we do know, one player on each side has been disqualified. And, Coach, what do you see here based upon the way this play ends once they stack up the ball carrier? Boy, just too much at the end of this.
Well, they keep pushing and pushing, and I think somebody pushes somebody back, maybe after, and now others are pushing.
It's going to be 17 for Dutch Fork, but Jarvis Green is off the field right now. I don't think he's the guy, but 17, it was the push, the receiver Jones. Couldn't see who it was before Dorchester. Take a look again here.
Green was kicked.
Yeah.
Well, as we said, DeAndre Jones seemed to be the player that was tabbed on the Fort D side of things. And as Stacey just told you, Isaiah Jones was right in the thick of it. You see those two getting together and literally butting helmets on more than one occasion. And they, as best we can tell, are the two players that have been ejected from the football game. Play continues with a first down. Just at the Holy City Heating and Air red zone with 95 seconds remaining in the third quarter once everything gets back to work here. But a great deal of time expended trying to just calm emotions here in the latter stages of the third period of the 5A title game.
Yeah, it's tough, and it probably was good that officials got the two coaches together and said, listen, we got to kind of clean this up. We need to finish this thing out the way we should be.
A lot of eyeballs on you. Good lessons to learn in these moments. That how you represent yourself, win or lose, so critical for both these teams. Here's Green around the corner. He'll be untouched, and that's the latest of the rushing touchdowns for Dutch Fork and Green. His third today. No flags this time around. It will not be coming back. So officially 3 touchdowns for Jarvis Green, Coach, as he continues to excel in the state championship environment.
He's something special. I'm kind of like Stacey said earlier, there's a lot of coaches ought to be looking at this young man, so he's a special deal. He's a great runner, pass receiver, and kick returner. He can do a lot of good things for a program.
He'll be playing on Saturdays. Right now committed to the Dukes of JMU in Harrisonburg, Virginia. We'll see how things shake out. Another flag comes out on the extra point try, and they're going to helping the kicker, Justin Welch, back to his feet. The kick was true, and it looks like both teams are retreating to their sidelines.
That means
whatever's going to happen is going to end up taking place on the kickoff.
That means it was on Dorchester.
Yeah. It was running into the kicker, and it will, as we expected, be assessed on the ensuing Somerville Ford kickoff. It's extended to 40-10 now as the lead grows to 30 with 1 minute remaining in the third quarter. You want to stick around at the end of this contest. We will select the Warren and Dillon player of the game. Warren and Dillon, the sponsors throughout the course of the weekend of our outstanding player in the state championship environment. We'll have the Warren and Dillon player of the game before all is said and done. 1 minute remaining in the third, and 3 the operative number now as 30, the separation between these two teams. And this has certainly changed from what we saw in the opening stages when after one quarter, it may have come as a surprise to some. These teams were separated by just a field goal at 6-3, but a 20-0 clip in the second period, allowing Dutch Fork to build an advantage, and they now have doubled up Fort D in the third quarter at 14-7 to extend it all out to 40-10. And here is the Summerville Ford kickoff. A reminder, you'll pay too much if it's not Summerville Ford. Now the freshman was right there, had a chance to maybe give a glance at it. Ryan Campbell on the return, but it rolls out of bounds. Penalty flag will come here, and decent field position will be available for Fort D.
Yeah, if you pick that up there, you better know you're getting past the 35 because you get it at the 30. It's a gift to the 35.
Well, you know, if that oblong ball had gone the other way, then he was in position maybe to do something with it.
Absolutely.
We've seen his explosive speed, but it took a positive roll for Fort D.
They're going to make him kick it again. That is an option, right?
It is. If you decide you want your playmakers to have another crack at it, and at a moment where Fort Dorchester needs a lift, the Patriots opting to try to do something on special teams here, see if they can come up with better field position. And Coach Knott's, his staff, calling the Foxes over as you get a look into that line and the sideline for Fort D.
I think most times you don't go ahead and just take it on the 35, but here you're behind the game. You hope you can have an explosive play and maybe make a big return.
Kind of the point, you need that lift that maybe they believe they can get on a return play.
They're clearly not going to give them anything to run back. It's going to be on the ground, so make sure you field it cleanly is the first thing.
Even on the 1 minute mark in the third period, lead of 30 now for the Foxes. Return to the 35 and up to the 38-yard line on the return is Fort Dorchester's Connor Morgan. And that's where they will take over to start this latest drive just inside the final minute of the third period. Dutch Fork team that won those 5 consecutive titles from 2016 to 2020, making their 10th appearance in the state title game, and all of them since Coach Notch came on board, all of them since 2012, these title appearances for Dutch Fork. And Fort Dorchester's staff, again, trying to make sure the clock is stopped. It is run on more than one occasion, and they're thinking all the time necessary for us to come back, we need it. And so it's going to take a moment to reset the clock here.
They had to make the officials. The officials didn't catch it at first. They had to make a lot of noise because they lost about 20 seconds between that ball, that tackle.
And was not the first time.
No.
We saw that happen a moment ago after an extra point.
I've been in a game where they ran the clock, and the official talked to me before the game and said, Coach, Abbeville's a good team, and they had a big game last week. If the game gets away, would you want to keep it running live in the fourth quarter? I said, we'll start it in the first half if you want to.
Just keep it running.
Keep it running. I said, they're that good and we're that bad.
Your strategy was limit possessions. That certainly would have helped.
And high school league rules this year go into effect. I think 42 is the number in the second half. If it goes to 42 point lead, it's automatic, no negotiation, automatic. But we're not there yet.
No, not nearly there at this point. So the clock should not be running, and kudos to the Fort D people for pointing that out. Looks like everything has been stopped. We'll see where they reset the game clock to. That's the matter right now, is where are they going to put the game clock. And hand signals, looks like they're saying 50. That's a long way away where the official is right now, but he's saying 53 or 54 seconds, it would seem, is what he wants up on that game clock. Just judging by then, it's 53. Not bad for the eyes up here that have been taxed over the years. 53 seconds is where it'll be 40-10 the score, and Fort D to work here from the 39-yard line.
Stacy's a math major with good eyes.
Absolutely.
Oh, here we go.
He's on fire right now.
53 seconds to work with. Going to end up being Zion Reynolds, far side. And, you just have to chip away if you're Fort D right now. Try to focus in, seeing on what you you can do here, but you talked about explosive and big plays. If you got them, don't hold them any longer.
No, you got to use them. You don't want to save them the next season.
Second down coming. Osborne in this one, 5 of 13, 102 yards, 49 the long. Hasn't thrown a touchdown, the touchdown of the rushing variety for Ryan Campbell, the freshman, the lone score, the lone touchdown at least in this contest. Just a little bit, all that's available across the middle, and that should run us to the end of the third period as they hand it to Zion Reynolds one more time. Second and third quarters have belonged to Dutch Fork. They're a quarter away perhaps from the 5A title belonging to the crew from Dutch Fork one more time. Silver Foxes carry a 40-10 advantage into the fourth on the other side of the break.
To destroy your sealant and your floors.
Olivia, tub, now. Geez, that was a close one.
Glad to help, honey. But let me tell you, when it comes to those teenage hormones, you are on your own. Trouble doesn't always come with a warning. You can rely on A&I.
Hey, conductor, how about something new? You played this last year.
Come on, get your head out of your sacks.
Shh, we're trying to hear.
Well, I'm sick and tired of hearing your kid play the wrong notes. Where's my kid solo?
At least you can see your kid. Why is my kid stuck way in the back?
The conductor only plays his favorites.
My kid heard that solo!
You saying I did?
Right.
Pass is incomplete.
Well, one play in the books to start the fourth quarter, an incomplete pass near side, and Fort D facing a fourth down as we get this fourth and final period of the 5A title game underway. See what Osborne and company have to take for a spin right here, trying to finally convert on one of these third and fourth downs, and he's had all kind of time to get rid of the football, but the receiver's well covered, tosses this behind the sticks, and is able to make something happen to move the chains. There it is. They had been 0 for 8 on third down, 0 for 4 on fourth down. Not to belabor it, but it just speaks to how tough that moment has been for Fort D. They're finally able to convert and come away with the Coastal Stone flooring first down. And you give plenty of credit to Osborne for waiting, being patient until he found an open receiver, Coach.
He's a north-south selection. He's truly a good quarterback. Things just hadn't gone completely right for Fort Dorchester's offense.
That's his 6th completion. He's up over 100 yards passing with that toss on the day. Turn, try to utilize the backs here. They go Zion Reynolds' direction. Reynolds stacked up after a gain of about 5. He'll take that on first down. Trouble is now time becoming a factor with 11:07 to play. Every time you go to the ground, whether it be Brown, whether it be Reynolds, but 2 outstanding backs. If you missed it early, both of them over 1,000-yard rushers across the course of the year. They're at Osborne's disposal. But he needs a number of scores, and he needs them quick right now.
It's going to be a pre-snap penalty. Yeah. Usually bad news for the offense.
Yeah, it's going to be motion against the offense. You saw the initial signal on the far side where the flag was dropped at the 39, or the 41, I should say. Well, here are the numbers through 3 quarters. Of course, that third down number that we've been tracking all day just changed for the first time. Beyond that, what else do you see here?
Well, Dutch Fork has found that they could run the ball against them and also pass very effectively. So when you get a good balance like that, it's hard to defend.
Dutch Fork closing in on 500 yards now, Stacy, of total offense. Yeah, after a slow start.
Yeah, they're picking up the numbers right now, and their defense is what's going to have to close it out for them.
And this is knocked away. It's rattled loose from Osborne, and the Foxes are going to have it on the 30-yard line. How about the pursuit? They end up getting a hold of Osborne, and in the end, it's going to be Dutch Fork football. And he is swallowed up by Josh Smith, who was the first on arrival, and in the football is swallowed up in the end by Derek McBride. So those two combining for the takeaway as Dutch Fork will have the football back.
Everything coming up Silver Foxes right now, ball at the 32-yard line, everything on that side, 10-18. If a team ever needed a turnover, it'll be Fort Dorchester right now.
Yeah, you look back to the moment for Fort Dorchester, they had the turnover in the red zone earlier in the game, didn't get points off that, and then the costly penalty that was of some contention on that roughing the kicker call. Green is going to throw this, and it's incomplete. The receiver, the intended target, was tangled up with the DB, and it will be a flag. So it looks like Dutch Fork going to march a little closer as they were tangled up right about the time the ball arrived, Coach.
Yeah, they're not saving anything. Dutch Fork's going for a few more. A halfback pass, 89, I think, was.
Did you see Green take a pretty good lick at the end of that as he was driven to the turf as well?
They're going to hit him every chance they can. No love lost between these teams, not a bad blood, but that was a smart penalty, because if he doesn't grab him right here, that might have been strike up the band, strike up the fight song time, and it's going to be a timeout called right there.
Alexander Bolton, senior wide receiver, was the intended target down there. He let you know that the penalty was required, at least from his perspective, right away. And this is going to work it all the way down inside that Holy City Heating and Air red zone. Holy City Heating and Air providing solutions for every season, and it's worked out well of late every season to get here to the state championship game, but he and Dutch Fork, saw Coach Knotts there, looking for more with 10-10 to play.
New quarterback in the ball game for Dutch Fork.
Yeah, going to change personnel. Going to run this side. Not going to be Green. Going to be K.J. Smith. And he dances out of trouble and works his way down to the 2-yard line. So number 2 all the way to the 2 is K.J. Smith. The sophomore QB gets in on the mix here. Watch the fake to Green, and then Smith comes near side and once again matches his number by going out of bounds at the 2-yard line. Now there is a flag down at the 15, so we'll see if this comes back. Did you see anything there?
Well, it looks like they're discussing a holding call here.
There's a hold. We might catch that. I don't know. We may see it again. Maybe a hold there, but good play call. Appler back in the game, but he wasn't in for the last 2 plays. I was making sure he was okay. He's back in now, but the last 2 plays, you know, they had Green throw one, and now the backup quarterback.
Here's Smith.
He tackled a defender right there.
You see how he worked his way to the corner.
Might be playing defense next year.
It's a body slam right there.
So the first down play will happen after all this, all the way back at the 25-yard line. And as Stacy told you, Appler back in there now after giving way to Smith momentarily following the pass by Green. Gives to Green this go round, and he's inside the 20 to the 19-yard line. And it really reminds you every time you see him touch the football of what the story of this season has been for Dutch Fork. They have fed Jarvis Green all season long. Every opponent has known it was coming. Every opponent has tried to scheme for it, and there has been no answer for Jarvis Green.
Green means go, and it's been that all season long. He is a Mr. Football finalist for a reason, and this young man has a great future ahead of him, but Tom Knotts has ridden for to possibly another title.
Kind of said it in the open earlier, too. Can you be more appropriate named if you're going to play for Dutch Fork? Very appropriately named is Jarvis Green.
Another penalty.
And another flag comes in here at the 9-minute mark.
Flagapalooza here in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, the end of the third, the start of the 4th quarter, a lot of flags here. Things got a little testy and then a little sloppy, and here's a false start that will back Dutch Fork up just a little bit more. You know, all about how you finish the year, right, Coach? I know you're sitting up here cringing with every flag right now as you see the way these two teams come toward the finish line in 2022.
Yeah, if you're on Dutch Fork side, you just want to say, let's keep it a clean game. Let's keep the clock going. Let's do what we can. And if you're on Fort Dorchester side, let's don't get upset and don't have any foolish penalties here late in the game.
Appler, he's going to turn, give off, right side run, as Lodge is going to touch the football one more time, and Lodge is inside the 15. Trent Lodge handling it regularly when they're looking for somebody other than Jarvis Green today, and he takes it a little deeper into that Holy City Heating and Air red zone. And takes it a little deeper on the game clock to about 8:16 remaining in the state championship contest. 6 wins in the playoffs over Fort D for Dutch Fork, trying to make it 7, and this one on the biggest of stages here in the state championship environment. Another dose of Lodge, who's inside the 10, down to the 6-yard line now, and that's going to be enough to move the chains. That's another Coastal Stone Flooring first down as they try to make the best of this Holy City Heating and Air red zone opportunity. Some room being made for Lodge, and that reminds you that it's as much about these big guys up front, Stacy, as it is about who's carrying the football.
They really have done a great job. Both lines at times have looked absolutely dominant, but Dutch Fork, the way they freed up Green and Appler even, and now Lodge, they're trying to close the game out now with the offensive line, leaning on those guys.
Sending a couple of players to the wide side of the field out here. Opening up a little space to give it to Lodge right up through those big bodies and down around the 2-yard line. A second down and goal is coming.
Lodge, a junior, is he the heir apparent to Eric Green? It's another year coming, another year to go.
Jarvis Green going to have to hand the baton to somebody, isn't he?
4-year starter. Yeah.
Are we starting to get a little drizzle here? I see a few umbrellas starting to pop up.
Kind of how overcast it had remained throughout the day, but you said it, a little bit of moisture now as you do see some umbrellas opening up with just under 7 minutes to play in the game. Light breeze working as well, as you can see from the flags to our left. Another rushing touchdown for Liam Appler. Well, he has done such good work when they've needed him to use the legs today also. That's his second rushing touchdown. 10th time he has carried the football in this game, matching his jersey number, and he's picked his spots, Coach.
And that was one thing Coach LaPrade was concerned about, is that, you know, you have to spend so much time focusing on Green, but Appler, the quarterback, is an excellent runner too. And whenever you think you've covered Green, boom, the quarterback pulls it and he makes a play.
Well, he's now on the doorstep of 30 total touchdowns on the year. He came in with 1,900 plus yards of total offense. He's eclipsed 2,000 for the season. He's been a great field general as Liam Appler, and he has the Foxes out front 47-10 with 6:45 to play.
Your home is where your memories live.
Hey, conductor, how about something new? You played this last year.
Come on, get your head out of your sacks.
Shh, we're trying to hear.
Well, I'm sick and tired of hearing your kid play the wrong notes. Where's my kid solo?
At least you can see your kid. Why is my kid stuck way in the back?
The conductor only plays his favorite.
I get her, not solo.
You see what I did?
Yeah,
Come on. What's wrong with you?
Well, you come to Columbia, you got to eat, right? Think about the barbecue. You also think about the delicious pimento cheese. It's a part of the South Carolina culture. With Experience Columbia SC's Pimento Cheese Passport, you can sample a variety of pimento cheese dishes from 16 restaurants around the Midlands region. And when you show off your appreciation for this Southern delicacy, they'll return the favor. Rewards and prizes will be yours. Download the Pimento Cheese Passport now at experiencecolumbiasc.com. We have experienced a Dutch Fork team that found its rhythm in the second quarter and has continued to lay building block upon building block on top of that, to the tune of now a 47-10 advantage ahead of this Somerville Ford kickoff. As light rain does begin to fall here at Benedict College at Charlie W. Johnson Stadium, site of all classes of the state championship games, A through 5A, the one you're watching right now. Got one more coming, the 4A contest tonight, Northwestern, South Florence. It should be a good one. A couple of high-powered offenses will go at it. Dutch Fork has shown you just how high-powered their offense is of late, and quick turnaround required here to provide any kind of return. It's going to be up to the 26, and that's where Fort D will take over. You think about Dutch Fork and what they have done since 2010, one of the most dominant programs in the state. And they've run across Fort D on more than one occasion as a result of it, and that's why you're seeing what we have continued to see across the course of this second half, which is these two teams jawing with one another, and sometimes it's become a little more physical. A couple of ejections in this half already. Coaches have been brought out for a discussion on more than one occasion today, and there's a flag down at around the 37-yard line that our officials are trying to sort out as we speak. There was also one right here near the sideline on the Fort D side of things. So, you know, you just hope, and you said it earlier, Coach, and we echo those sentiments, that both these teams can finish what's been a tremendous year for both schools in a positive and strong manner here.
Yeah, it's true, and you hate to see where so many penalties come up late in the game.
Unsportsmanlike conduct on the receiving team. 15-yard penalty.
So this is going to be unsportsmanlike on Fort D, and, well, that's going to get you flagged every time you throw the football into an opponent there. So some of that frustration beginning to be very visible in this contest. 6:39 to play as the Patriots take over. Just going to kind of zero in on what has been done since the arrival of this coaching staff. We talked about all those appearances and how they have come for Dutch Fork in the last decade or so when they've been the dominant force in South Carolina football. You think about a 10th state title game appearance, Stacy. In the past 11 seasons, they won a state record 5 straight 5A championships from 16 to 20. And who can forget the 62-game unbeaten streak that ran into that loss to Gaffney in the state championship game last year. This is a team that's finished nationally ranked on a number of occasions over the last several years. And they made it their mission after walking off this field a year ago to return to the top of the heap. And this has been somewhat of a statement game to that end today.
Absolutely. This puts the exclamation point on the redemption tour, if you would. There was a lot of bad feelings when Gaffney pulled the ultimate upset in a classic game that was very well attended and well viewed. And this is the culmination of a year trying to get back here and finish it. And we're 6 minutes away from seeing it. And
their fingerprints are not just on the landscape of South Carolina football, but on the sport of football as a whole now. You go back to notable alum all the way back to the Eric Kimry days when his dad was a part of things, and he played at USC. You think about Penn State and the late Mike Gasparotto, of course, the South Carolina Mr. Football in 14, Matt Colburn, Wake Forest, and then on into the NFL. Chad Jeter, Gardner-Webb, Tyler Bass, the kicker with the Buffalo Bills, Bryce Thompson, Tennessee, and the NFL. Ty Olenchuk, who we saw, who went on up to Clemson and made his mark. 2019 Mr. Football finalist, now doing some pretty good work on Rocky Top. Jalen Hyatt.
The Litnikoff Award winner or finalist should win it.
Will Taylor, who was the quarterback the last time out, now at Clemson, baseball and football performer there. I mean, the list has gone on and on of those who, of those who, even more recently, of those who have made their mark for this program. And Dutch Fork has become a feeding ground now for high-level talent all across the country and at all levels. And this is just, all of that to say, as they walk off the encroachment penalty here, all of that to say, this is just the latest chapter in what's one of the greatest stories written in the history of South Carolina football, Coach.
That's true. They've done it. They've improved in every facet of their program. And then certainly they deserve to be state champions today.
Working toward it as Fort D just keeps on fighting. You love the effort you're seeing from Zion Reynolds. He's going to rush this for a coastal stone flooring first down, and that'll move the chains. Stacy, you go back to January 2010. That's when they made the phone call to Tom Knotts, and he was willing to come over, cross the state line where he had been dominant at Independence in North Carolina, brought that same philosophy here. You think about the Chris League days up there and how they built into all these names that we now talk about. And when you play for 10 state championships in 13 seasons that you've been at the helm, that's a level of success that is unlike any other.
Absolutely. I talked on the field to Anthony Smith on this staff, and the former Gamecock, played on the Black Magic team of '84. He's on the staff. He said there's 5 guys that's been with him the entire time that Coach Knox has been here, and all of them haven't seen nothing but success. One coach came up while we were talking and said he's been on the staff 11 years, and he's been to the title game 10 times, he believes. That's all they know. Think about these players. Since they were in middle school, all they know is their high school playing in a championship game and winning almost all of them. So that's just a true culture.
Yeah, you don't know anything about being on the other end of that.
No.
Very rarely does it happen. And, you know, you go back to that ball going to come out here, but gathered back up by Fort D. That is another Coastal stone flooring first down as the final minutes work their way off here. But you go back to that 2013 year where they won the first title. They're going for their 7th here on this championship Saturday. If he earns that 7th title, talking about Coach Knotts now, then he ties Jackie Hayes of Dillon and Jamie Nichols of Abbeville coming into this one for the 3rd most in South Carolina history. Now Coach Nichols, he did the good work yesterday to end up certainly keeping pace and staying where he needs to be. But you're talking about Woodruff's Willie Varner, W.L. Varner, and Somerville's John McKissick, who had 10 titles apiece, at those that would be above the record that is there for Dutch Fork. So just to put that in perspective, now the ball pops out here at the 3:18 mark. What's happening on the field maybe at 47-10, not as of great consequence as the big picture, but they are going to say Dutch Fork football when all is said and done. So the Fort D drive comes to a close. What did you see on that play, Stacey?
Everybody moved but the football. The football pretty much stayed there, and the Dutch Fork player was alert enough to fall on it. But the ball never got to the quarterback. But I did want to say in the middle, take a look at it right here.
Take another look at this. Yeah.
The ball stayed. The ball was there. The ball really never got snapped.
Unusual on the snap, and then flying in there to take advantage of the moment was Raleigh Salters, the freshman linebacker who has his state championship moment now.
He was trying to snap it, and it only rolled about a foot, and then he was trying to pick it up himself when the ball squirted out. Everybody was moving, but he couldn't get the ball back.
So Dutch Fork does take over here with 3:18 to play, and as we begin to try to put in perspective what this run has been across the last decade or so now for Dutch Fork, Stacey, you were going to speak to what it has been like to watch what the Foxes have done over the last decade.
Yeah, you know, I've kind of been an up-close observer here, being in the Midlands area and covering them. But again, it's a culture. It starts with Pop Warner level. Everybody in the team kind of knows what's going on with Dutch Fork. They expect it to win. So right now they're hugging, they're celebrating over there now. And I don't know, Fort Dorchester has their own tradition as well. Robert Quinn and Carrier Joyner, they have their own traditions as well. But we have a player of the game we'll talk about here in a moment, but celebration begins across the way for Dutch Fork.
Coach, when you're putting yourself in the rare air, we talk about invoking the names of John McKissick and Willie Varner and how you're there just a few titles away from the threshold they had set in that standard. You know, those are legendary names in the Palmetto State. What Dutch Fork has done under Tom Knotts, when you also consider what he did in the state of North Carolina prior, it's been nothing short of just absolutely impressive and remarkable.
Well, that is so special. You know, those Coach Varner and Coach McKissick are special names in high school football lore in South Carolina, and to be right up there with them, I have a feeling he's going to break it. I think he's still hungry enough to keep going and going and going.
Well, he'll be right back at it tomorrow, right, Stacey?
Oh, yes.
When all is said and done.
He's big on saying 365 program. That includes tomorrow.
What did he say to Natalie? Have I ever looked like a man that's comfortable?
Yeah, do I like a man that's comfortable? that's one of the great Tom Knott quotes. Tom Knott's quotes I see. But hats off to
comes alongside of them. Let's take a look at our player of the game. One of the reasons we're talking about another title, perhaps, for Coach Knotts and the Silver Foxes of Dutch Fork, because of the young man he has in that stable of backs that have been his over the years. How about Jarvis Green? 200-plus yards. Also has a receiving touchdown alongside the trio of rushing touchdowns today. As a result, he is our player of the game, presented by Warren and Dillon, our Warren and Dillon player of the game. This is one where it comes as no surprise. It is Jarvis Green. He was everything you wanted him to be today, Coach.
And one thing Stacey said earlier, give credit to that offensive line. Yeah. On that run we just saw, replay, he was not touched. Right. And on the screenplay, he had great blocking out there with those offensive linemen. They don't get much credit, but they're the ones who do the job for you.
Jacob Beasley, Joe Evans, Presley Honeycutt, Caden McFadden, and Eli Ferner. Those are the gentlemen who've been doing the good work, not just all day long, Stacey, but all season long for Dutch Fork.
Early in the season, Green put up a 3:06, one of the first 2 games of the season. And you kind of knew what kind of senior year he was hunting, that 2,000-yard mark, and he got it.
came in with 2,071 after he eclipsed that mark on the road in the Upper State Championship game at the reservation in their win over Gaffney. Here's a third down play with just under 2 minutes remaining in the football game. Comes near side as they hand the football off. Get some new faces and some new names in here. To Maurice Anderson, a sophomore running back, as you get a glimpse of some of the future for Dutch Fork. Defense was the story early. Our defensive player of the game selection brought to you by Old Charleston Painting Company. Well, here's some of the work that was done. Yep, by who else, as he just continued to pump the fist after big play after big play. Jalen Hinton, the senior linebacker, our defensive player of the game.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I mentioned in the Southeast, he's getting small offers, but the Dartmouths, the Lehighs, the Harvards, they get the teams up in the Ivy League want him for his brain and his football prowess. So, don't be surprised to see a big announcement from him after the season, going somewhere maybe in the Ivy League.
Came into the game with 135 tackles and 7 quarterback hurries to lead the team, and he's lived up to those expectations today. Dutch Fork with 98 seconds remaining in the half, having also lived up to those expectations. Now here's a 4th down, and personnel grouping in there showing as if they're going to try to take this for a spin, as Ethan Offing, the freshman quarterback, lined up there.
Getting the youngins in.
Yeah, I'm seeing so many of those new names. And what a thrill it must be, Coach. You know a lot about these environments, but for some of these young men to get valuable playing experience, not just a lifetime memory of being on the field in a state championship game, but also for a team like Dutch Fork that's a powerhouse expecting to be here year after year, you go ahead and get the jitters squared away as a freshman or as a sophomore in moments like these.
Exactly. That's a great experience for them to play in the game, to say, I was a part of that state championship game in 2022. I may not only played the last couple of minutes, but I was a part of that team.
You tell your grandkids you had 100 yards rushing, they won't know, just whatever. That.
Latest to the rings to prove it also, right? And,
Absolutely.
And, you know, they're running out of fingers and toes there at Dutch Fork High School at this point. It's been a tremendous run. We documented it for you with some of the players, some of the individual performances, and just where it sits in the history of the state a moment ago. But now just 1 minute, 38 seconds removed from taking care of it. It is going to be a keeper for Ethan Offing, the freshman quarterback. And he does have a rush to the far side on 4th down. It will be a turnover. Got his name called, though, right here in front of the fans at Benedict, as things will flip over to the other side. Time to select our play of the game, and this was a tough one. There were so many big moments in this one, but how about the flea flicker, Coach? This one went for 6 more.
It worked just like that in practice. Number 17 made the play against the scout team in practice all the time, and they executed again in the big moment.
Isaiah Jones able to reel that in for one of the key touchdowns in this 47-point performance for the Dutch Fork Silver Foxes. Goes back over to Fort D after they allowed Ethan Offing to carry the football, the latest of the quarterbacks in there for Dutch Fork, and it happens with an even 90 seconds remaining in the contest. Also on the other side, here's a freshman, Lamarion Thompson, coming on, a freshman offensive lineman, and working his way toward a state championship moment on the Fort Dorchester side of things. Let's pause for a moment, talk about Fort D before we really settle in on the celebration for Dutch Fork. Coach, you won a championship to get here. That's the thing about a South Carolina state championship. They were lower state champions, upended their rival Summerville to get here. It takes a little time to be removed from the hurt, perhaps, of today and the pain of not having that ultimate goal achieved. But when they look back on this year, it's going to be among the pride moments of their life when they look back and say, really proud of what they accomplished this season.
That's right. Again, it'll hurt tonight, and it may hurt a few more days down the road, but they can go back and say that we were at least maybe the 2nd best team in the state. We got there, some of the rest of you didn't, and maybe we came up short, but we got there.
You'll tell the story for a lifetime of how you played in a state championship environment. That's something no one can take away. It's rushed off the left side and out of bounds. Goes Zion Reynolds, who gets the carry here. Great year for Reynolds, great year for Brown, great year for Osborne, which will continue with those accolades of being able to play. As you said, touched on energy type scenario on the horizon for him. You think about what Multi Snyder was able to do today. And congratulations, by the way, before this one passes us completely by, to all those players who have been given the superlatives and the selections to play in either the Shrine Bowl or the North-South game. Both of those tremendous traditions in the Palmetto State. And if you're a part of that, that's a badge of honor you hold for a lifetime.
It's certainly true. To play in an all-star game of any caliber, being selected by the coaches, because it's a tough decision trying to pick those players, because there's so many valuable players throughout the state. Just to try to be selected and honored like that is certainly great for the individual and also for their team and school.
I know you've coached some of the great players in the state as a part of some of those key games at the end of the year that celebrate the accomplishments of these young men who work so hard every Friday night. Ball is on the ground. Dutch Fork covers it up somewhat fittingly. It's going to be back in the grasp of the Silver Foxes for the final seconds of this state championship game. The 5A title going to belong to the Silver Foxes once again. It was in little doubt from about the second quarter on with the way they have performed, and it's now on the horizon for this Dutch Fork squad. And Coach, one more thing, I tell you, you talk about this state and the honors that come with it, and you can't talk about the state and the coverage in it without mentioning the high school sports report. And I know a good friend of ours who does a really nice job covering the state as a result of it.
Yes, Billy Baker supported high school athletics for many a year in our state, so we're proud that he's here today helping us out.
Thank him for his great work and all the solid information he provides. And certainly, if you're not aware of the high school sports report, familiar with it, make sure you are in the days that ahead. He's been passionate about this sport in this state for a long, long time.
Absolutely.
30 seconds remaining in the 5A title game, and we use the term statement win, we use the term return to the top of the hill, all that type terminology, but this is really a championship for Dutch Fork that words aren't required, Stacy. It speaks for itself.
Well, there's a saying, what's understood doesn't need to be explained. And when you come here this many times and you have this kind of record, I think it kind of does go a long way. A lot of people don't have to like it. But so somebody can knock them off consistently. Gaffney did it last year, but just somebody can take them off the top of the heap consistently. It's still a Dutch Fork thing down here the last week of the season.
Started in 2013, and as the final seconds run off the game clock here in 2022, number 7 in 22, belonging to the Foxes of Dutch Fork, as they are back atop the heap in 5A. And the celebration can begin here in the Midlands, and they'll carry the latest of the trophies back to Dutch Fork High School. Coach, the Silver Foxes, and you can say this about everybody they played in the Palmetto State this year, they were just too much.
They were. A lot of people overlook their defense. Their defense really, I thought, carried them early in the year, and their offense really came along later in the season. But they are a great, well-rounded program, and that's why they keep winning.
Yeah, Jalen Hinton, whose name we called over and over again, Perry, who's headed to CSU, Landon Danley, who's headed to the University of Virginia. He talked about, and certainly for all of us, his thoughts and prayers that remain with that Virginia football program and their athletic department where he's headed. But so many of those performers on the defensive side of the ball critical, and you know what the offense did. We'll be back to give you a snapshot of it, put a bow on this one. It's the latest of the 5A state titles for Dutch Fork. The Foxes back on top at a 47-10 win over their rivals, Fort D.
team and coaches, we ask that you now line up on your sidelines for the trophy presentation. Please direct your attention to the field for the awards presentation for Class 5A.
A 7th South Carolina State title, all of it happening roughly in the last decade for Dutch Fork, and a 7th for their head coach, Tom Knotts, who is standing by with Natalie.
All right, Coach, no question an emotional game. It would be the understatement of the year if we said it wasn't. What does it say about the resiliency and resolve of this team to fight all the way through?
Well, we've got a great football team. The seniors are a bunch of good players that get after it and do the things that we asked to do. We took Fort D's best shot in the first. We got a couple of good play calls, and we got a couple of big plays that kind of put them away in the first half. So we just held on in the second half against a solid football team.
And I want to talk about one of those seniors, Jarvis Green, clearly a big role in this game. How special of a player and a person he is.
He's been special ever since he's been here. He's been a good basketball player. He's been a good student athlete. He's been a great football player. He's done everything that he's supposed to do. I wish him nothing but the best, and he'll be probably the one we miss the most next year.
I know it stung the way last season ended. To be able to make it back here and right that quote-unquote wrong of last year, what does that say about this program?
That's our saying. Well, you know, everybody takes things different way. I took it as probably harder than anybody. The players, you know, players are resilient. Young kids are resilient. But they took it personal, and I think we had a rough all season getting here. We did some things the hard way, but we eventually figured it out, and we're peaking right now. We're playing great football. And our defense plays lights out all year, and our offense is pretty dynamic with Jarvis.
Congratulations, Coach. Enjoy this moment. Guys, I'll send it back to you.
Well, if you think Jack was not in their mind, he talked about how they were unable to quite close the deal the way they had hoped last year, but they played that season for him.
Yes.
If you think Jack was not in their mind, you saw it as the 60 was held up just behind there. We documented that story for you a year ago.
Yes, we did.
And still very much and always will be in the minds of the Dutch Fork faithful and everybody in the state, and this one in many ways for them. For him, so many that Fort D was playing for. We talked about the dedication of what was another tremendous year for Fort D to Coach Jack Radcliffe, some of the others that are battling some things along the way. And, you know, a lot of motion with which and a lot of energy with which, because of the shoulders they stand on, these players played in this game. But in the end, Coach Knotts and Dutch Fork, 47-10 winners. And, Coach, again, I'll invoke those names, okay? When you're talking about John McKissick and Willie Varner, we saw what Abbeville was able to do to continue to stay right there with their work last night. You know, you think about what Dylan has done over the years. You think about the power programs in this state and the big names among coaches. This Dutch Fork team placing themselves right in that conversation.
Yes, and I think they're going to be there as long as Coach Knotts decides he wants to keep coaching. Because he does a great job year-round with their program. Their kids understand their plan, and their plan certainly works.
Your memories that you'll take away from this particular championship contest, Stacy?
Yeah, the intensity. I mean, it was very intense on the field. We were down there before the game, the first half very much so. Even the second half, despite the score, was very intense. And they got it for Big Jack, and I want to believe Jack Alcatib saw his teammates do this. They watched their teammate pass away, Jack Alcatib, on the practice field August of 2021, before the beginning of last season. Did not finish the mission last year. 1 year removed, they got it done. I got to believe the big guy saw that today.
As I just mentioned, and he's smiling down. And we documented that story. If you want to go back, take a glance at the state championship game a year ago. Number of images, number of details about his tremendous story and his investments in this program. And you can see he's still very much in the forefront of their mind with that prominent number 60 being held up right behind the championship trophy once again. For your view, Jack still very much on their mind and in their hearts. Here's the presentation of the championship trophy. We'll have you listen in as it's received.
Everybody good? All right.
Accepting the trophy on behalf of the team, head coach, Tom Knox.
Well, this team celebrating its latest championship, and we say thank you to everybody involved in bringing to this broadcast, to all our hardworking folks in the truck, to my broadcast partner, Stacy Huff, and to Coach Eddie Muldrow. Always a pleasure to journey alongside of you. We're able to do it because of those on your screen. These are our sponsors. Their commitment to high school football and state championship presentation has allowed you to see these games across the course of the weekend. One more to come. We've got Northwestern, South Florence coming up here in just a bit. Please support our sponsors. Say thanks to them. They made it possible for you to see this, one of the many plays that led to a 47-10 win for Dutch Fork. And it's the Silver Foxes. We'll leave you with the sights and sounds of their title back on top in Class 5A.